This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Oh, good for you!
There's nothing for me here now. I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
Hey, what's this with our chicken,
it's
man?
It's a spectacle, light years ahead of its time.
The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The
Dad Wars.
Has.
He's no Jedi.
We'll do it live!
Feeling about this.
Hi, I'm on mute. How's it going? Welcome to Dad Wars, the weekly reckoning. This is our 5th weekly reckoning, but who's counting, right? Sorry for the delay, guys. Some technical difficulties as we increase our production value here and bring you wonderful, valuable content. So bear with us. We cannot wait to have some conversations with you about, I don't know, Star Wars. Anyway, welcome friends and family. I'm Justin. I'll be your dad for this evening. We've got some great Star Wars content to share tonight and hoping to hear from all of you as we go. We'll be taking a fond look back at the vital contributions to the Star Wars mythology from the amazingly talented Star Wars author and historian Jonathan J.W. Rinzler, who recently passed. We'll be joined by our first ever guest on Dad Wars, a lifelong Star Wars fan and arguably one of the biggest, podcasting's Brock, who will get all of us caught up on the High Republic and make some much-needed reading recommendations, among other things. Before we're joined by my co-host Aaron, I just wanted to say thank you, our fellow Star Wars fans, for being a part of this Dad Wars adventure. We would not be here without your support, so thank you guys so much. Feel free to check out our other videos on the channel and subscribe to be a part of future episodes. We definitely appreciate the likes and comments you leave us, and it helps us get noticed on YouTube. So please do that on the front end of the show while you're here. All right. So, without further ado, let's punch it Chewie.
I'll show you the dark side.
Hello there.
All right, there he is.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Good to see you. I didn't expect you tonight.
And you as well. I don't think anybody did. My gosh.
Well,
how was my pat? Did you like my copy? I wrote that copy myself. I'm just exhausted.
Oh my God. Do you need a nap? You all right?
Yeah. I've got the Aaron cam set up. I'm gonna throw it over to you.
Okay.
Just go with it. Just go with it. How you doing?
I'll stretch for time.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, doing okay.
How
about yourself?
We have not talked much lately, and I'm starting to take it personally.
As you should. No, I don't know. We haven't. Yeah, I think this week I was working on some stuff some big projects that I got finished finally, which were driving me up the wall, and then I just detached from society.
Cable detach. This is a Star Wars show. Oh my God!
Well
Name
done.
that doomed Hoth pilot.
He
made it. He made it out, didn't he?
He made it out.
Jensen.
Who didn't make it? Dak didn't make it.
Yeah. Hobby. Is Hobby someone who made it?
Hobby is still with me?
Probably not.
No. Hobby, I don't know. Well, I think when we get our guest on, he would probably know.
I bet he's chomping at is it champing at the bit or chomping at the bit?
It's chomping at the bit.
All right, I heard champing.
But that's because you like to shop at Champs.
Sporting goods.
Yeah.
Like this guy does sports. I do sports.
I do all the sportses. And then there was a movie in the 80s called Chomps about a dog, a robot dog. And the guy would go, Chomps 42, and the dog would attack somebody in the groin or something like that. And it was like, aha, that's so funny. And then you watch it now, and you're like, that's the dumbest thing ever. I hate it.
I thought that was Champs. That I must have seen the French version.
You did. Le Champs.
I don't know.
Le Champs. Sang de la Vue. I don't know. I don't speak French. I don't know what I'm saying.
That was actually pretty good. Did you catch our Saturday morning show? It's for kids, but I'm just wondering if you happened to catch it.
I missed it, and I was very upset that I missed it because I like waking up Saturday mornings and then have a little coffee, maybe make myself a little oatmeal, and then watch your show. But I missed it this week. That's
okay, because we did it on Sunday. Joke's on you. It's a Saturday show, but we actually did on Sunday. But hello? He froze on me.
Yeah, froze with anger.
We were supposed to do it yesterday. Things did not pan out.
Okay.
Our little one is not feeling well, so we all loaded up the minivan and headed to the pediatrician today.
I thought you were gonna say to the vet.
Yeah, close enough. But she's gonna be fine. She's gonna be good.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Summer cold's going around.
Yeah,
and
everything that I read was that this is the dad portion of the show. Everything that I read is that colds are hitting kids harder this year.
Yeah,
because they've just had a year of masks and
she has a double ear infection. Yeah, she's wiped out. But yeah, it's our youngest one. She's not really been out, building her immune system in the last year and a half. You know what I mean?
So that's on her, man. That's her fault.
Yeah, lazy. Just hanging out, watching Doc McStuffins. I mean, really, it's the same plot over and over. You just change out the stuffed animals. It's like the same plot over and over again.
Yeah, Doc McStuffins. So I don't know. So that's been you've been dealing with that and work, I'm assuming.
Yeah, just laying low.
Yeah.
Hanging tough and working. Yeah, lots of work. Lots of video work. So then my hobby is also video. So there's a little bit of a, should I ever go outside is the question.
It's overrated.
I could set this up outside. We should do an outdoor thing.
That'd be cool.
Dad Wars remote.
Dad Wars outside. We got a big show tonight. We got a lot going on.
We've got a big show.
I say we just go right at what's the next thing? What's news? What do we got next?
We got news. Well, at first I wanted to mention though, we have our first ever guest on Dad Wars, who we'll bring on in just a little bit. Who's gonna give us the down low on a primer on the High Republic, right? Because you and I, we don't really talk about the High Republic too much. I'm halfway through the first novel that's been sitting on my nightstand for 6 months at least, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's been 6 months. I just agreed with you. Yeah. It's not like I go to your bedroom a lot that you know of. I've said too much.
So what do you know? Well, what do you know about since we're going to be talking about the High Republic, what is your understanding? What have you?
It is some sort of a book.
Okay.
And that's where it ends.
It's a lot more. It's first and foremost, I think it's a marketing blitz. And then I think it's then you get the products like after it hits you from all sides, and then maybe you sink your teeth into some of it if it's good and hope it's good. Or that's what we're going to find out today. With
I have to also say from a personal standpoint, I'm excited about our guest tonight because I've known this guy for quite a while, and I think if you put you and I combined, he still tops us as far as Star Wars fandom and knowledge goes.
Yeah,
and he's a dad. So he's got perfect. 2 great kids, I'm excited to have him on.
That's awesome. Just want to give a shout out to our buddies online now. Luis Salgado is on, and Raymond is here. So nice. Hopefully we'll get to hear from these guys soon. But also our feature, we're going to hit some news items. Nothing crazy in the news. Lots of course, constant speculation. See a lot of YouTubers with thumbnails that says the splash pages, big news, like, leaks, and that I avoid anything that says leaks.
Yeah.
Big news, take it with a grain of salt. It's never big news. But I know our feature tonight, we're going to be talking about the work of Jonathan Rinzler, J.W. Rinzler, who passed away recently, way too soon. So I dug this out. I told you, I'm like, I don't know if I have any Rinzler books. I have a Rinzler book right here.
There you go. There it is.
This is the Star Wars. We'll dig into that, but this is something he's touched everybody in fandom, whether they realize it or not.
Well, it's the book that I was just looking at, which is about the Indiana Jones movies. He did that as well.
My gosh.
And it's Raiders is my favorite movie, and this is it's very the detail in this. I mean, a good portion of it covers Raiders, and then it breaks down the other two movies.
There are
in a smaller
chapters. Man, that took me a second. I gotcha.
See, now with this lighting, I feel like it's looking a little bit like a news camera.
It's great. It's like you're on location. You're a roving reporter in Northern California, covering all the. You're closer to the ranch than anyone else in our circle.
That's true.
So that's why we have you out there.
All right.
Let's see. Let's jump into some news. How about it?
Do it. Hit me with some news.
All right. There you go.
That was amazing.
That's what I worked on all weekend.
That was amazing. Oh my gosh.
I did that like an hour before I met up with Brock for some pre-show stuff. But
yeah,
I was like, I've got to have something's got to come together here. We need to have a newsbreaker. But for those listening on the podcast, they'll just hear a little piece of copywritten Johnny Wills music, right?
Yeah, Johnny Wills.
So, Aaron, we love Taika Waititi.
Oh yeah,
I know we in America say Waititi, but I think Kiwis say Waititi. And
in the Star Wars galaxy, it's Taika Utini. So it kind of all that was a horrible joke. I'm embarrassed for myself.
No, we're dads. We get a pass. We get a pass on all that stuff.
All right.
So he's talking a little bit more. We're getting a little more info, right? We're getting little nuggets, little what do you call them? Crumbs, breadcrumbs. Mm-hmm. So Taika Waititi says his Star Wars story is very me. Is that good news? That's good news, right? We like who he is.
Yeah,
his sensibilities.
I think the little bit of chatter that I have seen about that is people are already saying that. That nothing's even been done. He hasn't even written a script yet, but they're already saying like, oh, he's going to be let go from the project because Lucasfilm doesn't like anybody to deviate because of Lord and Miller and blah, 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 or whatever. I think this is a rare instance where you hire this guy because you absolutely 100% want his voice. You want his imprint. Yeah. So
that's why you bring him along. And I think he's got the cachet. He's got the weight, the clout of Filoni and Favs behind him because he's been pretty involved in the Mandalorian series, and that series is a wild success, right?
Yeah,
even pulling in brand new Star Wars fans.
Yeah,
we're not talking young fans. We're talking like mother-in-laws are watching this show.
Yeah, which is a demographic they've been going after since Attack of the Clones. And
that they try to get them in with that the romance out in the field.
You know what mother-in-laws love? Clones. You know what they love more than that? Attacking them. We got them. Nope.
So they finally clinched that demographic with the Mandalorian series, but he's involved. He's been involved. He's in like the inner circle. Everybody loves this guy. So, what'd you think of Jojo Rabbit, by the way?
I loved it. It was a rough movie to watch in parts, but it definitely had his feel to it. And I feel like the ending of that movie was one of the most cathartic uses of a song I've ever heard / seen in a movie.
Okay. What was the song? I forget. I'm sorry. I know I should.
It was the German version of Heroes by David Bowie.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime I hear any version of that song, I do it definitely gets my attention. I've seen it. I saw it once. Something about that movie, like tonally, it didn't settle with me. Like, I know it's a great film, but I think I was expecting, I don't know, something funnier. Is that
no? I understand because you get some, but I mean, even if you look at Hunter for the Wilder People or Boy, there's some very serious moments in there in those two movies.
So it's in line with his style, and so I'm just I guess I'm more of a YTT novice. But let me just read this really quickly. I saw this, and we like to keep him top of mind, right? So Star Wars may not be pushing out the constant stream of content that Marvel is producing for Disney, but in faraway galaxy lie plans for a bright future spearheaded by Taika Waititi's own Star Wars project. Who wrote this? Game Rant. Slow news week, folks. Confirmation of Waititi's involvement as director in the Star Wars universe came during Disney's 2020 annual shareholders presentation, which is going to lead to our next news item that you brought up, Aaron, that outlined the company's plans for its two most prized assets. Although the news came bundled with a massive wave of Star Wars content heading to Disney Plus for the coming years, the likes Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, The Acolyte, and Lando were all somewhat overshadowed by Waititi and Patty Jenkins' mainline film projects. Those were the exciting, like on that huge screen, right, with all of those newly designed logos for shows that didn't exist, that were just some ideas and some, just sometimes you never see that stuff. It never sees the light of day. But it was all exciting. It was very exciting to see all those properties up there, those potential projects. But yeah, his and Patty Jenkins, I think, kind of lit the show up, right? Like, and of course Obi-Wan. That's probably the.
Well, I think that they're trying to, because they've been so TV centric for a good chunk of time now. I think they're probably trying to get their foot back into the motion picture pool, if you will. So they're going to try to pushing those as much as they can. You know what I just realized?
Yeah.
That you and I don't have, which I wish we had, and I don't know, like, I mean, I've got shelves behind me and you have a whole display, but I wish, and this is going to sound weird, you got to bear with me.
I'm sitting down. Go ahead.
I wish I had on my shelf like 2 Wampas, just 2.
Okay. I got you.
And I don't. And I wish, I don't know anyone. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm rambling. Go on.
No, it's
Next
okay.
news item.
Just what we can, we'll circle back on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, but listen, this is kind of disheartening. Late 2025 is when that's when this film's going to be released. Okay. Doesn't mean he's isn't already thinking about it. He told Wired during an interview it's still in the exterior space stage of the script.
Yeah.
He's just really messing with us, isn't he? He's
totally.
Come on, man.
But also, I think it's a situation where they're like, we don't really have a lot to report right now. Let's bring Taika in. What do you got going on, Taika? He's even said all he has right now is exterior space. That's his script so far.
Wow.
So
all right. So anyway, he said he's excited. It feels very me. So that's just whatever is in his head. Maybe he's written a treatment. He's got something cooking, but
I'm sure he's got a story. I'm sure he's got it all outlined and everything, but he just hasn't written it yet, which is the thing. So
yeah,
crazy.
All right, Taika. We'll check back in with you closer to 2025.
Let me put it in my iCal.
So you sent this my way, and this kind of ties in with what they were just saying about that. Remember that huge 2020 shareholders meeting that just blew up the internet for a week or two, right? I loved that. All that hype coming down the line.
Yeah.
So there's a Disney Plus Day. Did you know there was a Disney Plus Day? Is this a first? Nope. I've never heard of this before. So this is after the DC's all their DC superhero properties and stuff gets the fandom. So Disney Plus Day is going to happen. Disney Plus now has, I read, around 165 million subscribers.
Wow.
That's incredible. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. That's like, I don't know how many. That's a lot of people.
That's more than 5.
That's
people.
Yeah. That's that more than Netflix too.
I don't do math good, but that's more than 5 people.
So it's an event that promises to reveal more about what's on the way.
I wonder if on that day they'll do some sort of a surprise dump, like, oh, and by the way, if you go to Disney Plus now, you can watch.
Oh, you mean just here it is. By the way,
do like a U2 iPod thing where they're just like, boom, here's.
Everyone reach into your pockets. You have some Mantel mix in your pocket.
There you go.
Stale popcorn. What?
If you look under your chairs, but I'm at home on a couch.
It doesn't matter.
I need to stop for a second because I said a thing a little while ago
about wampas, 2 wampas.
About 2 wampas, and it was so out of left field, and I apologize to the listeners / viewers. I wish I had 3 wampas. I wish I had 3 on my shelf, not 2.
Just
because
so
I think
self-indulgent. That's so self-indulgent. Who would do?
3 is bold. 3 is bold. 2 can come across as I think 3 is the way to go. So anyway, I'm sorry. I know I'm rambling. These are things I think of during the weekend when I'm alone.
Love it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's check in with our chat. Huge. I guess that's huge news for Luis.
Yeah.
For Taika. 2025 late. They even said late 25. That's rough.
I wonder where. When is Patty Jenkins' movie supposed to come out? Do we know that?
I thought that was. For some reason, I thought that was like a 2023 or 24. Yeah. Not sure.
Crazy.
So expect on November 12th. We're getting some. It's going to be some Star Wars hype for sure. That looks like there's going to be some Marvel hype. Speculation about a Miss Marvel show and a She-Hulk show. I'd be curious to see the She-Hulk show.
I'm going to say we're going to get a Kenobi trailer.
Okay. Yeah, that times out about right.
Probably an Andor trailer.
Yeah.
And some more information on Mandalorian season 3.
Yep. That's all later. Like by November 12th, we should have everything we need going into Book of Boba Fett, right? We should already know what we need to know. Is there going to be another? And November 12th, we're getting it a month later. I don't think.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to show us, like, here's the first 5 minutes of an episode, which I hope they don't do. I don't think they will, but.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're MO.
Yeah. All right. So, thought of you here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Rogue One trends on Twitter as fans celebrate Star Wars movie. Do you know why it trended?
This thing happens at like every 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks, realize I'm like, wait, Rogue One, did they all die? What happened?
Oh, actually, it's 5 years old now.
Oh yeah,
it's 5. Is that even possible? It was released in 2016, so on its 5th anniversary, Star Wars fans were talking about it enough that the movie started trending again. People love Rogue One, and I think they're going to love that Andor show too. You love Rogue One.
It is.
It loves you.
I would say it's in my top 5 Star Wars movies of all time.
Top 5? Did you say movies?
Star Wars movies.
Okay.
Yeah, and I it's funny because I don't put I have a top 10 movies, but I don't have Star Wars in there and any of there because for some reason those are just kind of like
they're their own thing.
Yeah, for me, which is weird. But
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
But for me, my number 1 movie is a franchise movie, and it's sort of tied in with that universe.
Yeah,
sort of. Kind of, not really.
Everything we know about Andor Disney Plus Rogue One prequel, despite its release 5 years ago, which I still can't believe. With The Last Jedi and Rogue One is arguably the most celebrated Star Wars film in the Disney era. Would you agree with that, Aaron?
I would say that's the one that seems to get the less division of fans. There seem to be more that enjoy it than don't enjoy it. I do see a few people online that will put it towards the bottom of their top 11 Star Wars movies. but these are also idiots. So,
to put it mildly,
yeah, and I don't want to be negative.
You're being too kind. Yeah.
Yeah. But what can you do?
All right. So let's see. Bloop. All right. And just one or two more little nuggets here. There's not much news that's not just sheer speculation or leaks, so we'll stay away from that. Casting live action Sabine Wren for Star Wars Ahsoka show. This is something that people have been talking about for a while now, including yours truly. That's me. Seeing Ahsoka getting her own show, and seeing the last time we saw Ahsoka in Rebels was with Sabine going to look for Ezra. So it seems inevitable that we're going to first see Ezra live action and we'll see Sabine, which I'm very excited about. I know you are too.
Yeah.
Are you excited to see a live action Chopper? Is that what you're holding out for?
No.
No.
Maybe. Yes.
All right, I knew it.
We already have seen a live action Chopper.
We have. Oh, he was in Rogue One,
which apparently is 5 years old.
Look at how it all just it's all. I love when it's tied together. I love it when it all.
It's crazy. And you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to up that statement. Actually, I'm going to up it. I'm going to say 4 Wampas. I want 4 Wampas on my shelf, and I'll tell you why. Because you've got 2 is kind of whatever, 3 is bold, but 4 Wampas is a thing that says, I am here. Listen to what I have to say. Believe in me.
True fan.
You know what I mean?
True Star Wars fan.
Yeah, true fan has 4 Wampas.
Now, would you have them all the same scale, or would you get them at different sizes just to kind of mess with the fans?
Well, the no 2 Wampas look alike, that's racist. So I think to say that you want a variety, you want a Benetton ad of Wampas is what you want to have.
Tell that to Kanja Club.
All right.
There you go.
So, yeah, and this is, they're actively casting a live-action Sabine Wren for the upcoming Ahsoka show, leading to widespread speculation as to who should play the fan-favorite Star Wars Rebels character. Earlier rumors held that Sabine would make her live-action debut in The Mandalorian Season 2, played by Sasha Banks, but that turned out to be false, as Banks played a different character. I remember when that was going around. I was like,
yeah,
I don't know.
So I think it's going to be Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, one of the Sashas.
You want a connection. What's the term? Tone poem? Sasha. There you go.
Love it.
Yeah.
Tone
or
poem.
Melissa McCarthy.
Parallels. Yeah. Oh my God.
She would kill it in that role.
Well, they brought Amy Sedaris in, and she's kind of a comic actress. So I think when she was such a big hit, that character was such a big hit in Mando that they're going to just start casting.
Fun fact about her role in that.
Okay, give it to me.
She showed up from an alien convention in complete Ripley cosplay, and they said, "There's your costume, done." That was it.
I thought she looked familiar. That was it.
Yeah, there was an alien convention in Burbank, and she went. She cosplays every year, and luckily she didn't come in the loader costume, because that would have been weird. But I think one year she went as Apone from Aliens.
That's her jam. Amy Sedaris loves aliens. Aliens.
The whole quadrology, which may not be the actual term.
I
think it's what it says on the Blu-ray.
Okay. Just look over your shoulder there.
Reach.
Yeah. So let us know, anybody, who you would have in mind to be Sabine Wren. And another thing I always think about when these amazing characters come to life on live action, it's big and small screen, and their voices are in our heads because we've been listening to them for seasons and after seasons. And when the voice actors don't make the cut, or they don't make it over to live action, what do you think they feel? And do you feel bad for them? Ashley Eckstein.
I don't feel. No, I don't, and I'll tell you why. Because the live action version that we're seeing of Ahsoka is much older, and I think Ashley Eckstein has a very youthful vibrance to her.
Yeah.
that I don't know. I don't know her as an actress, but as a voice actress, I think she's fantastic. And she was able to do that with her voice in the Clone Wars and in Rebels. But I think Rosario Dawson brings this sort of kind of almost a weariness, this kind of
solemnness. This
she's seen
much
stuff,
older.
You know?
She's seen it all.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. So, but some feel. I mean, we see that Thrawn is a direct translation. He's coming over, Lars, right?
I don't. Has it been 100% confirmed, or is it just?
And again,
I don't think it has
I
been.
cannot. I'm sorry. I'm spreading misinformation.
The
big lie. Isn't that what they're talking about? The news, the big lie. It's that Lars Mikkelsen has been cast. Whenever you hear that, I'm like,
referred to you as another YouTuber who's
you dare.
notorious for doing that. Yeah, I mean, I want him to do it so bad because his voice is such an imprint on that character. As far as I'm concerned, I can't read a Thrawn book or a comic without hearing him now. He's just so. Well, what's crazy is I never thought of that before until he did it, and it was just like, oh yeah, that's how he should sound. So
yeah, I don't think I had a voice in mind for him when this was back when the original Thrawn trilogy. I don't think I was casting voices back then, really.
That's disappointing.
It was just my wimpy little voice 30 years previous to this. If you can imagine.
We're going to catch the rebels. We're going to get it. Doc, you telling me you built a time machine?
Marty.
Out of the Millennium Falcon?
All right. And there's one more thing that I wanted to cover that we just can or we don't have to. Do you have any interest in this, the Star Wars VR that's out? It's out, and I haven't had any friends experience it or talk about it, and I'm curious. I'd almost be willing to get a VR set, Oculus, so I could try out this VR Star Wars. It looks fantastic.
I know nothing of it. So
let me tell you, Aaron, it's available on Oculus Quest. The latest VR game from Lucasfilm's award-winning immersive entertainment studio returns players to Batuu, where they'll forge unexpected alliances and face deadly enemies. So is this just like hanging out at Galaxy's Edge?
I think so. And you can do that for $6,000. You can stay at this hotel apparently next year and go to Galaxy's Edge for $6,000. I mean, that sounds much cheaper than VR. I may not know how money works. Let me just preface with that.
Did you know that Universal Studios, when the pricing was released for the Galactic Star Cruiser, they simply tweeted, "Do you know how many churros you can buy with that amount of money?" That's all they like their official Twitter feed, Universal Studios. Do you know how many churros you can buy with that? Yeah.
Jeez.
Good for you.
You get a Universal with your hurting bankroll. What?
So I just thought maybe we could just quickly watch this trailer and check out, see how see what the character models look like, see what music they're using for this. What do you think?
How long's the trailer?
70 minutes.
Okay, I got to go get milk.
It's 47 minutes. Hang on, let's see.
Is it really 47 minutes?
It's 47 seconds.
Oh, okay. I was going to be like, dude.
Sorry.
Dude, I got a lot of tables. Exactly. It's the cable guy line.
Yeah.
Got to get some utensils? There were no utensils in medieval times thus. There are no utensils here.
But there was Pepsi?
Dude, I got a lot of tables.
All right, let's play this.
Hey, kid, question for you. How are you with top secret stuff?
I find myself in need of a pair of capable hands. Hands that will be well paid.
We're not partners, but I'm gonna need your help.
You should know, there's no sense in hiding at this point.
Okay.
Huh.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. Seems kind of interesting.
Yeah. Even just
You
to
know
hang out
You know
with
what I
that
didn't see in that trailer though?
with the hammerhead. What you did not see?
Yeah,
Um,
Wampas.
yeah,
Not
here
a
we
single
go.
Wampa. That's kind of disappointing.
Oh, Ray said, "Did you see they renamed Boba's ship?" Oh, they named it the Fire Spray. Wait, the Fire Spray, that's already a name in Star Wars lore.
I think so. Yeah.
Ray, you're confusing us here. Podcasting's Brock says, well, technically they actually just removed the name from Boba's ship. I know it's Boba Fett's starship for Lego. And my theory, again, is that there's some...
Fire spray is the type of ship.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, fire spray is something that I dealt with in my early 30s, and I am much better now. And thank you, doctors. Sorry.
Come on, New Zealand, try something new.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get out of this news, shall we? I didn't make a bumper to get us out of the news. Do you want me to? Can I play the news bumper again for you? Do you want to see it one more time, or save it for next week?
Save it for next week.
Let's save it. Let's keep them wanting more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm in focus, unless I get right there. Then I'm not.
I have no idea if I'm in focus or not. I can't tell.
So cool. Yes. Where I wonder where where was that officially named? Because it's like the fire spray class ship, but I haven't seen that in any literature.
Maybe Lego got complaints. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, we all heard them.
Yeah.
On the internets.
All right. Who is they, Ray? Can you? His
neighbors.
Can you say? Dad Wars, hosted by Dr. Seuss.
His neighbors and all right.
Hey Ray, I just renamed Boba's ship. Have a good night. We're going to Popeyes.
All right, Ray. Ray is the man. He just threw us a link. So let's head back, shall we? Wait, no.
What are you doing?
I'm going back to the article Ray just sent, and then we're gonna bring our special guest in. All right. So here's the word. The word.
What is the word?
The Polynesian spa.
I heard he had a Polynesian spa put in the fire spray. Boba Fett's ship, Slave One, has a new name. Oh, the War of the Bounty Hunters comic.
Oh.
Okay. As a comic event, War of the Bounty Hunters continues to shake up the established canon. I think they're up to like 15 issues or something right now. It's going to be the most significant change for the Star Wars galaxy. Although the ship was never named in the films, fans have known Boba Fett's ship as Slave One since the original Kenner toy. Last month, it was speculated whether Lucasfilm and Disney are currently moving away from Slave One as a name for Boba Fett's vessel. At the time, such theories were based on the merchandising, as LEGO had unveiled a Slave One set labeled Boba Fett's Starship, omitting its official name, which really set some people on fire. Spray. However, some fans pointed out that this is common in many Star Wars Lego sets have been referred to as simply belonging to various characters. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, where's the name? Okay, in the new preview for upcoming War of Bounty Hunters, variant covers illustrated by this great talented artist. Bounty Hunters are positioned beside their signature ships, although each Bounty Hunter's vehicle is referred to by its traditional name in a press release. Boba Fett's Slave One is called Fire Spray. Yeah, that's just the schematics. Yeah. No, I don't think they have renamed it.
Yeah, so it's probably, it's just showing that it's
like a fire spray class ship. But they might. It wouldn't be a bad name.
No.
It would not. It's kind of cool. And it's not offensive. And that's what counts.
Well, I'm sure somebody out there will be like, that's a term you use for a blah, blah, blah. You can't say that now.
Could be.
Know.
Or it's not accurate. Can you spray fire? Yeah. You certainly did in the 90s.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did I? That was. I burned down many an apartment accidentally.
All right. So we wanted to bring in a special guest to help us cover remembrance of J.W. Rinzler, who passed away, you thought of our guest right away because he's probably the most well-read Star Wars fan that we know, having read dozens and dozens of Star Wars novels.
He's more than 5 books.
That's a lot more Star Wars than a lot of people can handle, I think. So that is respectable. So do you want to lead us in? Give us a talk up. Who do we have here? Who do you have?
So this is a gentleman. I've known him, maybe, since maybe 2008, 6, 7, somewhere in that area. So I've known him for a while now, and how we met is an interesting tale. How we remained in contact and friends for years, having never been in the same room except for once. And then we finally met up after many, many years, just emails and phone calls and texts. I was in Chicago and we had lunch. And then I saw him one more time after that at Star Wars Celebration. I talk to him all the time. He's a great friend. He's a great guy. This is Podcasting's Brock.
Let's bring in Podcasting's Brock. The Wampa joke, for those of us listening only on Apple Podcasts, Brock has amassed a impressive collection of Wampas.
So the idea is that I have 4 Wampas because the first one, this is the vintage Kenner Wampa that we all had as a kid, right, with the awesome box.
Nice.
This is the one that came out when they released the special edition. I believe, or actually, no, I stand corrected, before the special edition, because this is the one from the special edition. It's rubbery, and it comes with a really cool Luke Skywalker with an ice cave. You can hang him upside down. He's over there, and I had to pull off the hilt, so this is the blades, or the hilt's only there. And this one just came out this year. This is actually the second 6-inch version of the Wampa that came out for the Black Series. The original version had the gore that the special edition added in. This one is the new one that came out, I'd say last May, maybe already now, and for the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back. So I have 4 Wampas because of that. I have about 700 action figures on display over here. You can't see them off camera. I haven't really counted them, but I'm guessing it's around 700. And for those who wonder, the majority of my collection is loose. I like to have them on the shelf versus in packages. But there are some that are still in the thing. Like this one here I have over here. This is from Celebration 3. This is the Darth Vader talking James Earl Jones one. You take this out of the package, it kind of loses the reason to have it, right? And it actually talks.
Prepare to experience the revenge of the Sith.
Oh, wow.
It is your destiny.
So you can tell Darth Vader has aged a little bit in the armor because this was recorded in 2005.
It also does the whole monologue about baseball from Field of Dreams, which is a weird choice.
I was going to say the same joke because that game this week when we're recording this, they must have played that clip 1,000 times of the baseball clip, and every time you go to a baseball stadium, they play it.
I heard about it. I wasn't looking for it, and it still found its way into my psyche.
Costner looked a little like that Travolta meme of him kind of looking around from Pulp Fiction. That's what it looked a little bit like.
Oh, geez. So I'm glad I set up the Brock cam because he's showing us all this stuff. So I had to pull him full screen. Brock, apologies. When you first came on, I didn't have the audio channel set, but thankfully our fans and my lovely wife gave me a thumbs or gave me a tap on the shoulder really quickly. So your audio is sounding great.
What? I can't hear you. No. What would you say? What?
So
sorry, not a word.
So we're gonna have to take the show from the top.
Okay.
We'll go through all the intros, the news.
What part did I come in on? What did they hear me say?
We were just talking about Wampas, but you were.
You know what I would like on my shelf? I wish I had on my shelf a Wampa. Do you want to go back that far? How far back do you want to go?
No, we're good. Let's just keep rolling. This is great.
Did everyone hear what I was talking about? Yeah. The podcast, Star Wars Action News, been on the air since 2005.
I would like
book reviews and all that kind of stuff.
I want to, Brock, let me ask you how. So Raymond and I had a podcast. I mentioned to you when you and I were just getting acquainted via text. you said, believe it or not, 2005. And I said, I do believe you, because Ray and I had Rushmore Academy film review, and we lasted 2 episodes, and we drank heavily, and we didn't take it seriously, and then I moved away, and we never did it again. But you stuck with it. What inspired you? What turned you onto the technology of podcasting and to go to roll with Star Wars, like right out of the gate? How did this happen?
Okay.
How did this happen?
I can't take credit for that. That's Arnie and Marjorie Carvalho who founded the show. I was on the forums. I found them pretty early on, and we got to talking, and we had a mutual love of the Star Wars books, and so we became friends through the forums. Which, kids, be careful befriending people on the internet. Just be careful. But this actually worked out, and then when we started doing more and more books, I told them, we can contact the publisher, perhaps we can get the authors on the air. And so we started doing that. And so Arnie and I got involved in that. I got more involved in the Star Wars show about 2007, and I became on-air talent, I guess you can call it. I started editing the show. I started associate producing the show there too. And then they moved me over to the sister show, which has taken off like wildfire, called Now Playing, which is our movie review podcast for Venganza Media. So that's one of the biggest amateur shows on iTunes, and they've been doing that since 2007 at the current format, 2009. That's a whole different conversation, but they did review the Star Wars shows on there when the sequel trilogy came out. So anyway, I digress. The point I'm trying to make is all the credit goes to them. They got me involved. I was inspired. I got a headset, recording it. Over the years, we got better technology. They kept these shows going week after week. I come on and do the stuff. You can hear me on every single Now Playing show because I'm the announcer on there. But because I have 2 kids, because I'm a dad, right, as Dad Wars, right, which I understand was the prerequisite for being on the show. I had to have kids, so I bought them from China. And then we
good man.
Thank you. Yeah, and then I got promoted at work. Gosh, it's been a while now, but I had to back off a little bit from being on air and being more behind the scenes. But the Star Wars show, as new books come out, I do the reviews. A lot of them are on YouTube. You can check it out, the Star Wars Action News YouTube channel. You can check out the archives at swactionnews.com. You can hear a lot of my old reviews. I say old because the books came out. We've been reviewing them since 2007.
Yeah.
And and we did interview J.W. Rinzler when The Making of Star Wars came out in 2007, and we reviewed all 3 books. And the way the book reviews would work is I would read the book, Arnie would read the book, and I would give questions, and he would have questions. Then he and I would go back and forth on what kind of questions we want to ask. And we've had authors, and some of these authors aren't going to mean anything to you, like Troy Denning, Aaron Alston, Timothy Zahn, all the old EU legends authors. A lot of them came on the show, and they loved us because they could tell by the questions we were asking, we read the book. I don't know how many times they go on interviews and they don't read the book.
Yeah.
John Jackson Miller, who wrote the Kenobi novel, I saw him at Celebration in 2019. And I told him the story to his face that he gave me the biggest compliment in the world. The story was that the host, Arnie, when he interviewed him, told me that he gave my review to his mother. His mother wasn't going to read the Kenobi book. And after hearing my review, the mother said, I'm going to read this book. And I told Rinzler the story to his face. You gave me the biggest compliment I ever had in my life. And he signed my book. He sat back. There was a long line of people waiting to talk to him. And he recounted the entire story. He remembered it. It was unbelievable. It blew my mind. It was like 4 or 5, 6 years before that. And so I was just like a little kid when I heard that.
That was the book too that I remember. I was at the airport going somewhere, and I said, what's a Star Wars book I should get? You're like, do they have Kenobi? I'm like, yeah, I should get Kenobi.
Oh, yeah.
And picked it up and tore through that thing on vacation. It was so good.
You sent me a picture of you on the beach with the cover, which I forwarded to John Jackson Miller through his Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, totally. Or it's Twitter or something like that. Like I got it to him and he reacted to it, but that was like years ago now.
That explains the lawsuit then. Yeah. I don't know why he
is the restraining order still is there an expiration date on restraining orders? I thought
I cannot confirm nor deny anything.
We should better ask Kanja Club, maybe.
Yeah.
So
guys,
this Lego, this is Stranger Things crossover with Star Wars. What is this?
So Raymond sent that, and he said he wanted us to see how he displays his Wampa figures.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I have a puppet
slick.
Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back. That one is just like you put your hand. It's not even like a real puppet. It's like you know what I'm talking.
It moves like this, right?
It moves like this. It's in the other room now because I'm painting. And I put that in the refrigerator when I was growing up, and just to freak my mom out, she opened the door and she's like, ah! It was the best. It's the best.
Question for you, Brock. So you've been with Star Wars Action News since 2005, did you say?
I started on air in 2006. I was on the forums with them in 2005. But my first on-air appearance was with the Star Wars Action News book club. And funny story there, they were recording the first episode of that. Was the Star Wars novel that was ghostwritten by Alan Dean Foster. Mm-hmm. And I was on my honeymoon. So I had to send in a recording of my opinion because I couldn't be on the roundtable discussion. And I started on the roundtable discussion the following episode, which was, anyone know the second Star Wars novel ever written by chance?
Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye. You are correct, sir. Give that man
well played.
a cookie. Well done. A Wampa cookie. Yeah, I don't know. That's a little. No, that's cold. That's cold. So anyway, we so it was really great. And then I got on the main show after that and started editing the show and associate producing the show with them for a while. And honestly, it's a really great show. They know their stuff. And then we talked to Hasbro. We're on the Q&As with Hasbro.
Oh, nice.
They still do that whenever they have Hasbro does that. Arnie's on there asking these great questions. And the greatest thing about this entire podcasting thing, and Arnie and Marjorie will say this as well, is the people you meet. Because they've been going to every convention, right? And we have coverage of every convention, since they've had the show. And they do Toy Fair. They fly out to New York and do Toy Fair. And they're involved. And so they've made relationships with people at Sideshow or made relationships with people at Hasbro and all these other companies that make stuff. And we've had the authors, and Del Rey has been great to us over the years. And so we're very thankful for the relationships that we have forged. But we have met so many great people. And we've become friends with the people from the forums and from the book clubs, and then from listeners of the show. And we meet them at the conventions. And I didn't go to a lot of conventions because I have kids. Again, that's why I'm on Dad Wars. I have kids, and I can't travel as much as other people can. So when I was able to meet some of them at the Chicago one, because I'm here in Chicago now, or in a Celebration, I got to meet some of these fans that have been listening to me and listening to the show for years. And I'll tell you a quick story about that. It was really great. I was at Wizard World Chicago, which is now they just announced that's no longer going to be a thing.
Oh, wow.
Wizard World's closing down.
Yeah.
And I was buying a Kyle Katarn, I believe, action figure. The only Kyle, he's a video game character from Dark Forces. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have that one. I missed that one. And so I was haggling with the guy, politely, for the figure. And a guy next to me says, "Oh my God, it's Brock." He recognized me by my voice.
Oh my God!
Because he had no idea what I looked like, and it was the biggest compliment. One of the biggest compliments you could possibly get. Because,
that's awesome.
Because I talk like this and realized we actually got a couple of feedback years ago on Now Playing. Like this Brock guy thinks he's a radio announcer. He thinks he talks all cool. And this is how I talk. This is what I talk. This is what I sound like. Much to Aaron's chagrin.
Have you ever thought about doing a non-Star Wars podcast? Would you ever do something like that?
What's that?
I've been talking too much. I should just digress. So Aaron and I did a show together called But I Digress from 2010 through 2012, which was the tangential conversational podcast. And we talked about everything from snowblowers to peanut butter on bagels to anesthesiologists, whatever the copy was. And he and I and Kathleen, our friend Kathleen, got on the show. And then when Aaron couldn't make it, we had Subrim, my friend Adam. And then once in a while, it was the three of us, maybe with Kathleen. I don't know. The point is, mostly it's the three of us at a time. And, in the vein of a lot of podcasts nowadays that have like three white people talking on a podcast.
It's so irreverent.
Yeah, it's amazing. But we did it in 2010 to 2012. We did it way before a lot of other podcasts. Back when I had to go to parties, I was going to barbecues, and people are like, "What's a podcast?" And now if I go to a barbecue and say I have a podcast, they're like, "Yeah, you and everybody else, brother."
Yeah.
So
yeah,
So, what do you think about this live stream thing that's started with Twitch and now is kind of making its way across channels and into our basements?
Well, I have some notes for you.
I'm sure.
Here we go. Buckle in.
I think live stream is wonderful. I think the best thing about live stream is you don't have to edit. I think anyone who does podcasting knows that it can be a bear if you have 1 hour of recording. It takes like 3 to 4 hours to edit that down if you do it right. As equipment has gotten better over the years, editing's become easier. Not just because we know how to edit better, but my voice quality is better with a better microphone versus what I originally started with, right?
Yeah.
But I think live streaming is good. I think the best live streams, do have agendas and have points and point A, point B. I don't know. I honestly don't watch a ton of live streams because I don't have the ability to sit here and watch a live stream all the time. I'm thankful that they're recorded.
Yeah.
We've done quite a few live streams during the pandemic. We did Now Playing. We did the hosts. We watched a movie with we hosted a movie, and our fans would watch with us, and they would comment, and we would watch and make fun of the movie, kind of like MST3K, more or less.
Okay.
But I picked my movie was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory because I thought it was a really fun movie everyone's seen. So you didn't have to really pay attention to the dialogue because we all know the movie, right? So you can point out stuff.
Yeah.
But we did Friday the 13th Part 8 and that kind of stuff with our fans. And we did Captain America First Avenger, all during the pandemic to stay connected with our fans because everyone was home. And that's why I think this live stream has taken off, is because so many of us were in front of our computers doing the Zooms and the WebExes and all that.
Yeah.
That I think that really has changed the game. I think what you guys are doing here is really fun. I love that you can bring in live elements in the videos and you instantly have the web pages come up. There's a lot of great stuff you're able to do that we can't do unless we enhance the podcast afterwards, right? We have to put photos in afterwards.
Right.
Unless we do a live stream. So that's the difference between having a podcast that's then put on YouTube with video elements. And then we do have video elements. We do have video interviews with people, and we put that on the YouTube channel. But what you guys are doing is the next version.
Yeah, I'd say for me it was I've always wanted to do content for myself. I'm an editor, animator, video professional, and I've always created content for other people and had rare moments in my life where I've been able to actually sit down and plan and execute and then post something. But it's always been twice a decade kind of turnarounds, like where I've had the time, and I have 3 kids and I have so many obligations and things. But then this live stream thing, the light bulb went on with me. As I was telling you earlier, I'm watching these guys that are just hitting play or hitting, go live. And they are creating the content as they go. And people are engaged. And it's like, yeah, we're creating a show. That's why we'll do it live, is because it's like I'm getting to post that content up there about something I'm really passionate about with my friends, and it's Star Wars, and then it lives on. Like you save it down, and it's it's there, and it's like, okay, now I'm stockpiling, I'm creating content, and it doesn't require as much post, which is what my point is, like getting bogged down in post production. It's just too much time. So
it sucks your life away.
Yeah.
It's like the machine from The Princess Bride. I just sucked 1 year of your life away.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And to be able to sidestep that and to try to do it in such a manner that is polished enough that it looks like, hey, this looks like it was well produced and edited. And it's just a matter, we're just we're in the early stages of this. We're getting 1 subscriber, maybe 2 a week if we're lucky, but we're just forging ahead, and we feel like we're working out all the technical issues and the structure of the show. Some days we'll play it super loose and we'll end up with a 2-hour show and we're all over the map, but Aaron and I are having fun, and Ray, we're having fun. And then sometimes we're trying to hone in on to get from, like you were saying earlier, connect the dots, point A to point B to point C, and just trying to find that happy place.
Here's my question though.
Wampus.
Are we having fun?
Yeah.
Are we?
I mean, then. How do you define fun? It's
all relative.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
I look. To be honest with you, I think this whole YouTube thing is a fad.
Yeah.
It's going to go away tomorrow, so you know.
Oh,
Vimeo, that's it, that people.
I got a bad feeling about this.
So Aaron mentioned that he and I met. I think it's earlier than you said in the intro, because I moved to Chicago in 2007. We had already known each other. So you invited me to see you in your band. I couldn't make it, and therefore I was like, and I didn't get another chance to go see you. But then we were thankful years later that we've had this incredible phone, email relationship without even seeing each other. It was kind of almost like it was epically long, having your a really good friend via almost like a correspondence, like a pen pal. Yeah. It's insane. But we met. There's actually a Star Wars connection to the night Aaron and I met.
Okay,
and it's really fun. I don't get to tell the story much, so I enjoy this. So
and you won't now. Cut them off.
Yeah.
Click.
So
roll credits.
We had a mutual. Aaron wrote and fill in the blanks here for me, Aaron, because it's been many years. I think it's 2003, 2004. Aaron had written a movie script or a play. I think it was a script.
That sounds nothing like Aaron I know.
I want to say 2006 because I think my son had just been born.
Okay, let's go 2006. And I think it was a movie, and we had a mutual friend, and there were extra parts that had to be cast for minor
table read.
For a table read, for Aaron wanted to hear it out loud. He's recording it so we can hear how it sounded. And so our mutual friend recommended me to come in. And in the first half of so my bigger part was in the second half of the piece. But in the first half of the piece, I had one line, and the line was, "Hi, Jake." And it was the neighbor of the lead guy. And it made no sense. I couldn't figure out what to do with this line, right? So we're at this table, and it was coming up on this part. And I had no idea what to do with this, but it was a really nice room. It was a good room. I was filling out the room, so I'm going to take a chance and see if I can make this guy laugh. And so I say the line like this. I say, "Hi, Jake," like I'm attracted to Jake. And then Aaron goes to one of his laughs like that, like he wasn't expecting it. And then he makes a reference to it before we break. And then so I knew, I was like, okay, this guy is okay. But I had to talk to him. I said, I got to get this guy by, most actors would be like, I want to meet this guy. I want to get in touch with this guy. I want to make sure he knows who I am, make a good impression so this guy will put me in something. But I had a different agenda. So we went to the washroom, and he was just washing his hands, I think, because if he wasn't washing his hands, it's creepy. So let's just say he's washing his hands.
Okay.
And we're in the bathroom, and I think I opened the conversation with, "So you're a Star Wars fan, huh?" And he's like, "Well, yeah. How did you know that?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious, man. You have characters in this show called Jake, Natalie, Liam, Ewan, Ian. I mean, this is the Phantom Menace.
It's the entire cast.
It's the entire cast of Phantom Menace." And Aaron's face went like, "You picked up, like how did you pick up on that?" And so he tells me that he needed to find names. So he just went to the IMDb and used those names as placeholders, and they stuck. That's what he told me. And I think that's how our friendship was born, because I totally busted him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the jig is up.
So there was a Star Wars connection. It's completely relevant to what we're doing.
It's fantastic. Oh, it's fantastic. Classic Aaron.
It's perfect. And then we, it was really, I don't know, it's not Star Wars related, but he and I had this, our first email interactions were quoting Ernest movies. Do you remember this? We were doing back and forth, making comments about Ernest.
Ernest Goes to Camp.
P. Worrell. Yeah, Ernest Goes to Camp. I know it's no Ernest Saves Christmas, but it's a good movie. And and then the next time it's no Ernest Goes to Jail. But, it's good. So we would just beat on Ernest for no reason.
Yeah, and then he died.
And then he died, and that just became uncouth. But honestly, I changed that joke to, it's Police Academy 4 all over again. That's what you said.
Yeah. I unfortunately don't remember, but it does sound like something that we would do.
Completely. Oh, it still sounds like something we would do. We would probably just resurrect that and be like, didn't we have that conversation before? Anyway. Yeah.
Love it.
Aaron's been an amazingly great friend. Back when the MCU started, I would call him after seeing the early movies and ask him, okay, what's from the comic books, what's not? Because MCU is not my Marvel Comics. I just haven't read 50 years of backlog. I just haven't done that.
Yeah.
So he knows his stuff on that too. So if you're ever doing a Marvel Dad Marvel, I don't know what you want to call that show, your spin-off show, you could.
Yeah. What would we call that?
Marvel.
The Mr. Fantastics. I don't know.
That sounds like a strip show. I don't know if you want to do that.
No,
whatever brings them in. We just need to bring in some viewers.
The Fantastic Thing. There you go again with the strip show. You got a problem.
No.
You got a problem.
The Thing.
If it's after hours, it could work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dad Wars After Dark is what you said earlier, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
totally.
They're clamoring for Dad Wars After Dark. Somebody is.
Are they though?
And Justin, I actually worked for the Disney company for 7 years.
You did. So we have that in common.
Aaron. So I know a lot about Disney trivia as much as I know about Star Wars trivia, if not.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Aaron,
so
we found your replacement, Aaron. Aaron was the only Aaron's the only person who's affiliated with a show who has not worked at Disney. Brock, what did you do at Disney and when?
I was a Disney Store cast member in the 90s. I was in the mall store, and then they moved me down to the Fifth Avenue store where I sold all the Carousels, original production cells, charger plates, all that stuff. Because I had this trivia, I had this mind for it, right? So I was working at the regular old mall store, and some guy came in to fill in for someone on vacation who worked at the Fifth Avenue, then flagship store in New York. And he realized, you know your stuff. You'd be great if you ever want to move down to Manhattan to be in that store, let me know.
Yeah.
And when I graduated college, I knew I wasn't going to be, in the suburbs anymore. So I transferred, and they took me right away, and I did great. I had a lot of fun there. I met some amazing people there, and it's a 3-story Disney store, right? So, and we were in the gallery up there. And if you go online and look at pictures, it was an amazing store. It's now closed. We actually had the National Disney Trivia Champion in that store. He was the manager. He was amazing. He was a cast member before he was a manager, because your managers aren't eligible for that.
Okay.
And I was able to compete in the lower levels of that competition after he became a manager, because I was the second best trivia guy there, and I got killed. I know a lot.
Crushed it.
These people know a lot.
Next level.
It's amazing how deep you can go with this Disney trivia. I was watching all sorts of stuff just to make sure I get the names and stuff, and the way they were able to pull what restaurant was in this. Epcot at this time of year. I'm like, it was amazing.
So that
amazing.
Is that Disney trivia? Is that everything Disney, or is it? I was thinking what's the running time of the Black Cauldron? Would that be included, or would it be when did?
I think the answer to that was 85 minutes too long.
You're correct.
It's my kids were just asking me about that because we just watched Atlantis and we just watched Hunchback. So two of the other lesser known or lesser popular movies. After watching Hunchback, you got to watch Black Cauldron because you think Hunchback is dark. You just wait to get the Black Cauldron. I'm sorry, this is not Disney Wars.
No, it's fine though. We can. Yeah, that's all. It's kind of
a little bit
Disney dads.
No, it's everything
that
everything
that
Disney
exists.
It has to, yeah, and honestly,
yeah, there's a Disney Dad IG. I'm pretty sure.
There's everything Disney. It's wonderful, and you can go deep dive, just like Harry Potter too. You can go right into that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. The
Speaking
point I'm
of,
trying to make is that Disney is wonderful, and I love it, and I love my Disney trivia, and I consider myself a recovering Disney file.
Yeah.
But I'm still an active Star Wars nut.
Yeah, I see that. And I feel the passion too. That's just fantastic.
The energy is here. Yeah.
The energy you bring it. You're bringing the energy.
But you don't have 5 Wampas. So.
Yeah, but did you work at the?
I'll see myself out.
Did you work at the Warner Brothers studio store? That's the real test. Because I did in Fort Lauderdale.
You asked that question, and I wish you take it back, or I'm just gonna leave. I mean,
I used to fold baby clothes at the Warner Brothers studio store part-time.
You didn't work there. You just would go in.
I just would find one of those little folding boards and one of the rolling carts.
So that's so funny you should say that, because we adopted a cat last weekend, and we were at the shelter, and they have T-shirts in a big rack and a shelving unit that you can purchase to help support the thing.
Yeah.
And we were waiting for the paperwork for the cat. And my daughter, who is now 12, I started folding the shirts because they were driving me nuts. There's no reason these things should be strewn. You're not going to get anyone to buy these shirts. And so I started to explain to her the Disney fold and how, if you have Mickey Mouse on a shirt, that I was able to do. I got so good at it that I was able to, the top shirt of the fold had his ears, next part of his ears, then his eyes, then his nose. So you can see the exact, like in 6 shirts, you can see the image on it. How good I got at it with that damn folding board.
Oh my gosh.
And
yeah.
And I still got it. I can still do it. It's harder for me now because I'm doing it freehand. But I was doing it, and I told her, "Look how I got the design exactly." She's like, "I'm like, yeah, your dad has many talents." Of course, if my wife was watching, she'd be like, "And why can't you fold a shirt at home?"
Oh, there you go. That's irony. That's irony. Well, you haven't lived until exactly. You haven't lived until you folded a Taz shirt the wrong way and getting reprimanded on the floor in front of
I had an epic Gossamer shirt in high school. He was a giant, like the red blob.
Yeah, with the sneakers. He had the sneakers.
Yeah, the giant sneakers, and no one had any idea who he was. I'm like, well, then get away from me. I mean, because Gossamer, it's such an obscure character, and I found this T-shirt at a comic store, and I'm like, I have got to have that T-shirt.
Yeah,
because because everyone loved Marvin, right? But Gossamer. I mean,
no, that's a deep cut. Ray says the Marvel Dads podcast is called Marvel Men. But even that's a little.
We gotta do like a Mad Men opening.
That's kind of like Magic Mike 3, Marvel Men.
Ray, that's the best. That's as close as we've gotten so far. So thank you for that.
Every time you say Ray, I think Daisy Ridley. It drives me nuts.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Where's Ray?
Oh, where's Ray? Speaking of that, this is really cool.
To get Ray.
Really neat.
I'll go in and try to find Ray. The troopers will be on our tail.
Ray. So they came out with a 6-inch Daisy Ridley Force Awakens, right? Back when the first movie came out, right?
The
pretty good figure. Looks okay, right? Then they got the real scan face technology going on with The Last Jedi, right?
Yeah, they figured it out.
Just take a look at the difference between the two figures.
Hold on, I'm bringing you
see it.
Brock Cam. Let's go Brock Cam.
Okay, Brock Cam.
Oh,
this is actually interesting if we're talking about Star Wars. Can we bring it back around, okay?
Yeah.
So you got the two figures, and see if you can see the difference. I'm gonna try to see if I can see it in my own feed.
Oh
the
my!
The one on the this one here is the Force Awakens. This one is. You can back it up a little bit so you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see the real face technology is so much different, and even the costume is better. Then they even up the ante more with the Rise of Skywalker. It looks like Daisy Ridley is on my chest.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's unbelievably awesome. So what's crazy about it is the Harrison Ford ones, depending on the angle, looks like him. The Billy D. Williams new Lando Calrissian sort of looks like Billy if you have the right angle.
Yeah.
These look like Daisy Ridley from every angle.
Every angle, yeah.
The only problem with the Rise of Skywalker figure is it's from the Rise of Skywalker. So there you go.
There you go. Good night, everybody.
That's my time. I'll see you later. Tip your wings.
So I have a question for you about your book reviews that you do.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll wait till Justin comes back.
I'm here. I'm still here. Yes, go ahead.
So my question for you is, you have a fictional book. You have the Kenobi book or Master and Apprentice or whatever, and then you have something like the W. Rinzler books. What are the differences in reviewing them? Like, do you have to approach them from different angles?
Oh wow, it's like a blue card question from Conan O'Brien. Okay. Yeah, you have to absolutely do it differently, because when you have a nonfiction book, and I realize I would call it nonfiction, and Star Wars is all fantasy stuff, right? But with like J.W. Rinzler's making of trilogy, right? Star Wars fans like us, people who know the movies well, at any level well, what you want to hear about is this book going to tell me something I don't already know, right? So when you have something like the Star Wars Atlas, which is also a book that they came out with, or like Star Wars characters or weapons or technology or what have you, it is a reference book in Star Wars that is completely fictional, but it's like a nonfiction book. They write it like a nonfiction book, like a textbook. You also have to review that one differently as well, Aaron. You can't just review all the same books the same way, right? Because the books, the point of the book is to be a reference guide versus the behind the scenes versus a novel. So when I review a book, like a novel, I try to do it as spoiler free as possible because no one wants to get the whole book spoiled. Right. I try to mention, I primarily, is it Star Wars-y? That's a technical term. Does it feel like Star Wars? You know, sometimes you hear those baloney people say, you can hear John Williams' music as you turn the pages. No, you can't. But do they have, especially back in the Legends, when they actually use characters we all know, are they actually getting the voices right? Or are they just like, you know, Luke was hearkening back to when he was on Dagobah with Yoda, thinking about how he said this and that. And these characters have the retention of like a Mensa member. Like it's insanity how they remember every quote from the movie when they lived the lie. It doesn't make any sense.
So what are some of your prerequisites for feeling Star Warsy? Like what are some things that you like?
You have to have the voice of the characters right. You have to have their interaction right. You can't overquote the movies, right? When you do a space battle, you have to be able to see it in your head. Mm-hmm. Michael Stackpole, Aaron Alston were the best at that. The best at that. Alexander Freed of the New Authors, he had a couple of Battlefront books, links to the video games. He did really well with the action scenes. He really knows how to write a war scene. There's a trilogy of books now called the Alphabet Squadron series, a brand new series. And that's harder for me to see the space battles. It's a lot more character work in there than space battles, also, to be fair. You read the Aftermath books, right?
I did not. I have them, but I haven't read them yet.
Okay. So some of the stuff in there, not the first book, but the last two, they had some really good action scenes. So you really have to make sure you can visualize it in your head, right? You really understand it. But like even Timothy Zahn can get it wrong. Like he wrote one of the new Thrawn books. He had to write Anakin, and he was so excited about writing Anakin and Vader, and he wrote them as two different characters. That aspect was great, but I don't think his Anakin was particularly strong for a variety of reasons. But one of them is that Anakin wouldn't defer that much to somebody else. Anakin knows more than everybody else, even if he doesn't, right? Until he's proven he doesn't. And I think Mr. Zahn missed that. But of course, Zahn is one of the best Star Wars authors. So the answer to your question is, I know I'm babbling and rambling, and I can't answer a question in one word. It's that you have to approach it as, is the story good? Are the characters good? Does it feel like Star Wars? Does it make sense to what's come before, and what's it leading into? Okay. And most importantly, did I want to see how it ended? Was it a slog to get through? Right? So you mentioned earlier, Justin, that you had a book on your night table for 6 months. May I ask a question? How far are you into that book?
I'm halfway through.
Okay. So that's a book you cannot put down because there are 30 characters in there. Yeah. One Jedi after another, and there's not one character in the High Republic that we know. So it's really sometimes like the Alphabet Squadron books, there's Hera Syndulla is in there. If you watch Rebels, you know who Hera is. Yeah. So at least you know that character, right? At least you have a good idea who that is. But you don't have that in the High Republic. They name drop Yoda, but he's not around. He's on sabbatical or something. He's off,
Yeah. And that's fine.
That's the Covenant or something. I have no idea where he is. And you don't want Yoda there because all you would want to do is read about Yoda. They're very smart, but he's around in that time. Yeah. So, but you need to read that book faster because there's too many characters. Can I make a suggestion to you?
That's what it is.
I know I'm babbling again.
That's what it is.
Mark Thompson is the audiobook, reads a lot of the audiobooks for Star Wars, and especially the new Thrawn books. He does a great Thrawn. You were mentioning how Lars Mikkelsen does a great but Thompson does an amazing Thrawn, right? So if you're having trouble with the High Republic, for example, getting through it, I especially suggest you get the audiobook because that will help you retain a little bit more. You can do it while I do it while I'm doing Star Wars puzzles. So the books I review, I read about half the book. I listen to some of the chapters, and I read some more of the chapters, and I listen to the book. So I get both feels. So I can review both. Okay. Obviously, I'm not going to listen to both, right? So I'm not going to read it and then listen to it, right? So, and then Thompson's just amazing with the characters, and he really helps differentiate who people are for you. So when he does his George Takei as Imperial officer, and I'm totally on to you, Thompson. I know it's doing Takei.
Oh my.
It's awesome. He has Jack Nicholson or Christian Slater. You have to ask him which one it is. It little hints at it. So you can follow along. So I suggest for the that book, especially if you're having trouble slogging through it.
Yeah.
And also I suggest you read it when you have time to read it, not one chapter at a time.
That's what I'm
down,
doing.
Read 100 pages at a time, and you'll be fine.
I think it is the fact that I'm putting it down and then I pick it back up, and like you said, there are so many characters, and there are all new characters and new locations, some old locales, but it's a lot to retain. It's a lot to hang on to in many sittings or right before bed, and then I read and fall asleep, and then I've probably forgotten what I've read.
Yeah.
But can
I tell? I'm sorry. There's a story I have to tell here about Mark Thompson.
Okay.
So I know Mark Thompson through a friend of a friend.
And you, sir, are no Mark Thompson.
And you, sir. I've had lunch with Mark Thompson, the nicest guy, very just incredibly talented, incredibly polite. And I knew he was going to be at Celebration. And he and I were talking on Instagram back and forth or whatever. And we are in line, and Mark Thompson walks by, and I start talking to him. And Brock goes, "That's Mark Thompson." I'm like, yeah. That's Mark Thompson. And I've never seen him starstruck before, and was able to get him a picture with Mark Thompson. And that was one of my proudest moments at Star Wars Celebration.
Well, they were talking, and and then I realized, oh, it's that Mark Thompson. And like, I've listened to this man for hours, and even with books I don't like, he is always good.
He's the guy. He's the guy.
He's so good at it.
Yeah.
And he is the nicest man. And I don't get starstruck. I've met bigger celebrities than Mark Thompson. No offense, Mr. Thompson. And I do not get starstruck. I was completely flabbergasted. Similarly, I was in line with Aaron and the company going for the Star Wars Celebration store, and we're finally at the end, ready to go in. And through the back executive VIP section walks Timothy Zahn, the author Timothy Zahn, walks right in to get access. So I stopped the guy. I said, I realize no one else here knows who you are, or may not know who you are. I know exactly, because he must. Well, maybe people do, but most people don't. Like, you read his books, you know his face. I got a picture with him, right there. He was more than happy. He recognized. It was great.
That's great.
Yeah, and my
if you
dad
don't ask, you won't
interviewed him
get
on the radio for Heir of the Empire in 1991.
Really?
And so I tried to tell him that.
What, your dad did?
Yeah, my dad interviewed when Heir of the Empire first came out in 1991. My dad had a radio show, and Star Wars was not popular anymore, so they were doing local. Whoever expressed interest, and I expressed interest in the book to my dad.
Yeah.
And so my dad said, "Let's get this guy on the show," and the guy said, "Yeah," because Time Magazine wasn't calling until the special edition, right? They weren't getting the covers of magazines, and the internet wasn't a thing. So they did a local radio show. My dad talked to him, and I got it was awesome. And so I told him, like, back when you were first promoting Star Wars, my dad interviewed you, and he of course didn't remember. He did 1,000 shows. Yeah. But it was really, he was thankful to me for telling him that it was like really cool.
That's awesome.
It was really, he really accepted the compliment.
That's fantastic. It's great when you meet one of your heroes, right? Or meet someone you really admire, and they turn out to not. Well, you know what they say is.
Brock, Justin and I have a little surprise for you.
Timothy,
we're going to bring in our next guest.
Christian Slater. Christian, get your butt in here. No,
I
wanted
to Brock cameo from Star Trek 6, that random Star Trek 6 Christian Slater cameo.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like almost as bad as the Tyler Perry one. Like, what are these? Come on, what are you doing?
But then you look at the casting director, Mary Jo Slater, and you understand why.
Save it.
I'm sorry, you were going to
save it for Trek Dads.
Sorry, Justin, I'm taking over your show.
What I wanted to say was, I always find it fascinating what lifelong fans like us did during those dark days, those years without any active Star Wars on, to look to or to look forward to. There was nothing. And you talk about, like, now we get daily speculation of what's next. There's so much to talk about, but I guess from 83 to 90, well, save for the Timothy Zahn novels, there wasn't a whole lot, and then a couple of TIE Fighter game here and there to bridge that gap, right? But what was everybody
We had the Saturday morning cartoons for a little while, Droids and the Ewok.
That didn't stick with me. That wasn't good enough. That wasn't Star Wars for me. Not enough.
I always say that's not my Star Wars, and that's something that's become something we say a lot. I couldn't watch those shows either. They weren't made for us. They weren't made for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But but speaking of Timothy Zahn, he really did take it seriously and presented it as this is still a really important mythology, and let's keep it going. I don't know the backstory. You probably do. I don't know how he wound up with that, but and Aaron's blowing in the breeze there.
Timothy Zahn had a major responsibility to bring Star Wars back after finally 5 years. All those years later, they finally said, "Okay, you can continue the story." Right.
Right.
And it was considered a dead property. Now, they did have the West End games role-playing games, right? They did have the D&D kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was some of the other stuff you can get.
My favorite Pet Shop Boys song, West End Games.
West End Games. West End Game. And then I remember I was in Baltimore visiting my brother at school. We were in a comic shop, and they had Empire Strikes Back trading cards for a nickel a piece.
Wow, okay.
In a box. And I only had Jedi because I collected Jedi cards out of the pack, but I didn't collect Empire because I was too young.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was going through there trying to get all the doubles out and just getting all the ones as I could. And the guy, the comic book guy, looked at me like I was crazy. Like, why are you spending so much time looking through these cards, man? Just take the whole damn box, right? And he said, they're writing new novels. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, they finally authorized a novel. It's coming out next month. And that's how we heard about it. Timothy Zahn's book, the comic book guy. Yeah, it was amazing. And then those books came out once a year. It was 91, then 92, and 93.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did after reading the second one was I went to Barnes & Noble and picked up the Han Solo Adventures. And I picked up
I did the same thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Splinter of the Mind's Eye and the novelizations.
Yeah. The Han Solo Adventures, was that the one? It was like I had it like I still have it somewhere. Like there's 3 stories in one book, right? Or
yeah.
It's like a little.
So they had 3 different covers, right? Here's the Han Solo's Revenge, which is arguably the best one. That's the original paperback cover.
There we go.
Right?
Yeah.
What you're talking about is this one.
That's the one I have. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of us have this one. It was $5, a $15 value, only $4.99.
Wow.
What a bargain. And so I read this book 3 or 4 times through, right? It's great. The first 2 stories are wonderful. Brian Daley was the author. He also wrote the radio dramas, if you recall, the NPR, which is another thing we had in between, I believe. I think those came out, though, around the movie time, though. And the Jedi one didn't come out until the 90s.
Right.
So that's what I did to fill in the gaps in from between the book 2 and 3. And after The Last Command, which was the 3rd book in that series, they came out with a whole bunch of books in 94. They had like 3 or 4 novels, and they started the Kevin J. Anderson books that year. They had Truce of Baccarat that year.
Wasn't the Jedi Academy book trilogy part of that?
Correct. That was the Kevin Anderson books, was in 94.
Yeah.
So after Zahn's trilogy completed, they knew they had something.
Right.
And they started doing like 4 books a year, more or less. They had a hardcover book, and they had like a bunch of paperbacks every year.
Now, what was the? Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it now. But it was a book, and it was a video game, and it was a soundtrack, and it had Prince Zizor.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up later when we talked about the High Republic. So in 1996, they did the first cross-media event that the High Republic is very similar to, called Shadows of the Empire. They actually they had a book, they had a video game, they had the comic, they had action figures, they had a soundtrack. They had basically everything but the movie. And actually, there was something on this recently, because it was like 25 years since that happened, right? So they actually did a whole expose on it, or somewhere. Someone did that recently, did a retrospective on that whole thing recently, and I can't remember where it was.
It's on YouTube.
It wasn't us.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Somebody did it.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
Really good job. And they actually had a behind-the-scenes how it was made book too, just like Rinzler. We're bringing around. It was like a Rinzler book. I have it here somewhere. I don't know who wrote it. I can't remember who wrote it, but
Move the Wampas. You'll find it.
That's my Move the Wampas. That's my second album's name. Hold on a second.
It was a big seller.
It was huge.
I can't find
Guam.
Hey.
Don't knock Guam.
It's a big market.
Yeah.
And there's the T-shirt. Don't knock Guam.
Anyway, so and the point is that was the first time they did that. So High Republic is very much similar to that because that has everything, but they don't have action figures yet for that. They don't have a video game. They don't have a soundtrack, but they're trying to cross over into different levels of novels. They have adult novels. That came out wrong. Novels for adults. And then young adult novels, and then junior novels, comic books, and I think there's some short stories too, but I haven't read those.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling. That's what I was saying earlier. It feels like the plan is a marketing blitz, and then just fill in the blanks with content. And I maybe that's just I'm being cynical because it's probably well thought out content.
Well, it's funny
right?
you should say that because I don't know if it is. It's too early to tell how well thought out it is. It's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Right? And the issue that I brought up earlier about not knowing the characters is a very real one. Like I mentioned earlier, Michael Stackpole and Aaron Alston, they did those X-Wing novels in the 90s. Legends, if you haven't read them, it's a really great series, especially the first, especially both series, but both authors. Definitely read those if you haven't read them yet. I digress. The point I'm trying to make is in the beginning of those novels, there were so many characters, it had a cast of characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then for novels in the New Jedi Order series, that 18-book series, they had a cast of characters in the front. All they have to do, and I don't know why they're not doing it anymore, for all of these new books, including the Alphabet Squadron books and these High Republic, if you put a cast of characters in, their names, what level Jedi they are, and their race, if they're a Wookiee or if they're whatever, that would be helpful, because
it's hard to track. It's really
I don't
hard
think
to track.
I'm pretty sure they don't have it.
No, like a glossary.
Yeah. What's so hard about that? I mean, did they put it in there finally because we're all complained? No, they didn't put it in there.
Something else that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was those little like flash animation, like the like intro to the characters of the New Republic that was either on YouTube or where was I seeing this, or Instagram? I don't know. But did you know what I'm talking about? It was like 1 or 2 minute little vignettes. All they did was they just like grabbed the Photoshop layers and moved a couple things around, and like it was just a little explainer, kind of like what we're talking about now, like who's who, but it was like little vignettes, and it was not
on Marvel.com does that. Like if you want like a primer on who Black Panther is, you can get that. It's like a motion comic kind of thing.
It's like that, but it's like it's low, like the production value. The illustrations are lovely, but like just everything about it just seems like rushed, and it's not. I don't know. It's not helping.
Yeah, I understand.
So Ray, really quickly, Ray asked, when did the Dark Horse comics start coming out?
As I remember it, it was Dark Empire came out about 91, 92, right around there. And then and I remember because they had to have come out around then, because when Anderson did his trilogy, they had Jason and Jaina who were in Zahn's trilogy, but they had a third kid who was Anakin, and that was the baby from Dark Empire. They tried to bring in Dark Empire into the continuity.
Okay.
That's how I remember it.
Wow.
So that had to be, and then they had Tales from the Jedi there, and then they had
that's right,
nice Sith Lords and the Old Republic. I remember the titles of them. I have them all back there, and right around there. That artwork was great. But that's another good example of so many new characters, and if you don't keep up with it, you're going to get so lost.
Yeah. But I think we have to be. We can't rely on just having all these familiar faces and names and places all the time. I do like when they explore these new worlds and we get to meet new characters that eventually become, favorites. And so, shame on me for not. I feel like I need to get ahead of the curve and like embrace this High Republic, and like eventually we'll have some like Ahsoka Tano's in there, or some like some different characters that grow and evolve and stick to canon, like they get used regularly. I don't know. Aaron, what do you think? It's all you think it's all. Go ahead.
I have a question for Brock. Kind of bringing it back. Yeah. Wow. Smart guy. So you're obviously a huge fan of Star Wars, and like you said, fans. Yeah. We are done with this right now. Go to commercial.
Come on, Aaron. Get it going. What do we got?
Thanks for time, stretch. So, you said before, we're huge fans, and Star Wars was kind of all-consuming for fans like us. We wanted to know everything about it, behind the camera, as well as what we saw on screen.
Right.
J.W. Rinzler wrote these incredible books, these incredibly detailed books. What were some things that you found out through his books that you didn't know that surprised you?
I wish I prepared. We interviewed him on the show, and the thing that took away, well, it's a loaded question. I wish I had like 5. Aaron, I wish you had
just give us one
ahead of time.
One
Give
answer.
me something like that. I don't have like a list of stuff.
Okay.
It has been many years since I've read it, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm actually rereading The Making of Empire Strikes Back on my Kindle reader, and I'll get to that in a second. But well, first of all, we never had a making of Star Wars before, right? So they gave him access to everything you could possibly want in the archives.
Yeah.
We've had The Making of Empire Strikes Back. There's a book I'm sure you guys have heard of called Once Upon a Galaxy, The Making of Empire Strikes Back, which Rinzler's second book, The Making of Empire Strikes Back, does rely upon.
Yeah.
You can actually see great portions of the book, and he calls it out. And then Return of the Jedi had a more definitive one because they had everything for Return of the Jedi, and they had how many behind-the-scenes documentaries and making ofs and classic creatures, Return of the Jedi TV specials. There was plenty on Return of the Jedi, and then when they got to the Phantom Menace, they had the whole thing chronicled. They made a documentary while they were making it, which we've all seen on the DVD, which was remarkable, right? That amazing documentary. But Star Wars never had anything like that because nobody knew it was going to be anything. So what Rinzler did was he went into the archives and he found the original treatment. That was amazing to read the original treatment of Star Wars and the notebook pages called the Star Wars or the Journal of the Wills and the whole thing. And remember, Lucas would say when he wrote the prequels, I have, the whole outline of the backstory.
Yeah.
But it really is just like 2 lines of whatever it was. And the compromises he had to make and the story is legendary. But what you want to look in there is the storyboards. Did you ever see the storyboards of the X-Wing in that book? The X-Wing sequence is mind-blowing. Yeah. We all know the story how they didn't have enough money for the cantina, blah, 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 blah. That stuff I'm not talking about. That stuff we know.
Yeah.
This book tells you the hoops they had to run through to get even the most basic thing. Now we know this a lot, but I think the first time I read it was that Lucas gave everybody like 1/4 of a point because the movie made so much money. And so Alec Guinness felt he had to come back and do the sequels because Lucas made him a millionaire from like 1/4 of a point.
Yeah.
He felt obligated to come in.
Yeah.
And they filmed him for like 1 day for both movies, right?
Right.
And that's the first time we ever saw a Force Ghost sit on a log that's actually there. What? What you have is in Return of the Jedi's Rinzler book, and I do remember this very well. If you watch The Empire Strikes Back, and you read that book, by the way, and you see there's a whole thing about Kirshner and Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford during the famous scene and this carbon freezing scene. There's a whole dialogue.
Which is also right from the book that you're talking
Once
about.
Upon a Galaxy. And it is like worth the price of the book alone, right?
Really?
There.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Because it's peppered with all the great photos and the great behind the scenes stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else. Get the book for that. Photographs alone is worth it. But But the cool thing about Return of the Jedi is, so you guys have talked about this on the show before, how Gary Kurtz was not around, right?
Yeah.
And so Lawrence Kasdan, they had script meetings like late. We're already in pre-production. They're still trying to hammer out the script. And Lawrence Kasdan wrote like a 268-page treatment or something based on all the story ideas. And there were compromises after compromises made to get this movie made in the time frame they had to get it made.
Yeah.
They just made a whole bunch of masks. And they asked, Admiral Akbar, how about that guy? We like that guy. And that's how Admiral Akbar became Admiral Akbar. They just made a whole bunch. They didn't have any script. They had no idea what to do. So they just started making creatures. And you just like, oh, okay, that one looks like art. And I'm like, to us, Admiral Akbar is so iconic and so important.
Yeah.
And to these guys, it was like, the fish guy. We'll use a fish guy. It'd be great. And it's like, what? And that kind of stuff blows your mind. Or you've watched Return of the Jedi 1,000 times, and you see that little squiggle next to the Emperor's face, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They call it the Emperor's slug online.
Yeah.
Little animated black dot that they kind of took out of the special edition, but it looks way too straight.
Mm.
No one knew what the heck that was. It's in Rinzler's book. It's actually in the margin. I looked it up.
Get out, really?
Make sure I got it right. Yeah, it's right there. It's because the lighting was so bad in the close-ups. Lucas had a hissy fit. Well, that's not the word they used in the book. He had a problem with it, and they just and they put animated blackness over it so it would look better because it looked really bad. Because if you watch, I was going to say before, if you watch The Empire Strikes Back and then you watch Return of the Jedi, it is filmed like a TV show. Return of the Jedi is not filmed as well as The Empire Strikes Back. It is clearly not. The shots are set up very basically. The
overly
light
lit.
is weird.
Yeah.
Somewhere online I read years ago that somehow the lived-in universe of Star Wars, the Empire got a big shipment of Windex and everything was shiny. Right? It's markedly different. And this book, Return of the Jedi, explains basically what we all thought before of why the script is fine, why the movie is good, why a movie is not. The challenges they had about shooting a stationary puppet like Jabba the Hutt. I think of the 3 books, Star Wars is so much information that you didn't have before that you can't possibly remember it, and you should reread that one every 5 years because there's so much information in there.
Right.
The Empire Strikes Back stories have become stuff of legend because it's well documented. And Return of the Jedi, the access that they gave Rinzler and then the permission to print all of it is unbelievable. If you read the Indiana Jones book, the 4 movies in one that Rinzler wrote that Aaron has on his shelf behind him,
right?
It's a completely different book. You can totally tell his hands were tied. There's just not enough stories there in that book. It was like, we only have so much space. We're not doing 4 different books.
Yeah.
And it was really, you talked about something being a promotional push. All the stuff on, I'm not sure if you guys, there's a rumor there's a 4th Indiana Jones movie out there. And
they're filming now.
Yeah, they maybe are. I'm not really sure. I get confused. And they have a whole bunch of photographs they took of these fans who look like Indiana Jones, older and stuff, and older Marion in the back of that book. And it's all promotional crap that you really don't care. I didn't learn anything in that book that I didn't learn in the documentary that's 2 hours long and that DVD set of Indiana Jones. Right. But if you read these Rinzler books, you're going to learn more than I can possibly tell you. So if Aaron, if you actually did ask me that question ahead of time so I prepared for it, I don't think I could answer that question because I'm not going to sit here and read 1,000 pages again just to answer that question. It's impossible.
So I don't know why you're yelling at me. I'm on your side.
Because you pack me into a corner, you make me look like a fool, and then what do? You say, you know what? You don't have all this time, Brock. Why don't you read 1,000 pages worth of stuff, man?
I backed you into a corner with 4 wampas.
So long story short, he was a very comprehensive author. Like, this guy did the work. He did the work,
and he was an editor for Star Wars for a long time. Star Wars, I guess you would call reference books. Okay. Before he actually got a chance to write, but yes, he was able to go into the archives, get the access that no one's ever had before, and I mentioned earlier, I'm rereading The Empire Strikes Back on my Kindle reader. In case you don't know this, or maybe your people who watch the show don't know this. They're recently on sale too. They've dropped in price. The actual hardcover books, or I think the paperback books too, but I only have the hardcovers here.
Yeah.
Of these, they actually have audio clips and video clips in the digital versions. So even if you own the book, you can hear Harrison Ford talk about this. There's the one I was. I don't think it's a good idea for me to hold it up to my microphone so you can hear it, but. Lucas and the evolution of his role from writer-director to writer-producer on the second Star Wars film. That's fine. But how about Frank Oz talking about how you develop the character of Yoda?
Yeah, that's great.
And I hear it right from his mouth.
Wow.
Right? Come on. Yeah. And so they have. They also have in the Return of the Jedi one. You have footage of them on the sail barge out in California.
Okay. Yeah.
Like from an off angle, and like just doing the fight moves. Right. Cut. Do it again. Blah, blah, and it's like. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's
like
the stuff.
Great camera. It's
that's
remarkable.
The good stuff. Yeah.
So get the video, get this version as well as the hardcover books. J. W. Rinzler is not only did he comprehensively study it and put it together in a way that tells a good story. Because you can just throw a whole bunch of photographs in a book and people would be happy with Star Wars. It would sell. He actually told the story of this. Right. And he told it well. And for people like us who think they know everything, we don't. And I've read this book and I still don't know everything.
Wow.
You know, if I know I'm talking out of clip, but there's something completely relevant. Do you guys remember in the 90s they had a thing called Behind the Magic, the DVD, the CD-ROM?
Yes, it sounds familiar.
And you can click on it, and they actually had the script, and you can click on the script, and you can see scenes from it. And it was awesome. It was what you thought was everything you possibly could want, behind the scenes information about all 3 Star Wars movies.
Yeah, they had the big scenes. That was the first time the scenes with Biggs had been released. Yeah,
exactly.
That was
right.
the first time.
The Cammy and whatever his name is. Victor, whatever that's not.
Fixer.
Yeah. I thought you said Victor. I'm like, it's not Victor. But I'll say, yes, Andrew. Yeah, it was Victor, and Dr. Zhivago. And so, and that was really cool too. So, regardless, you thought, I went through that entire CD-ROM and I just ate it up with a spoon. I couldn't get enough of that. I thought I knew everything. And then Rinzler comes out with the making of Star Wars, and you realize they just scratched the surface on that thing.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably great. So the man gave us a gift of these 3 books. Everything else he did is great and important and wonderful, and he did good, and bravo for him. But he also did this one. He did the making of Revenge of the Sith. This was his first time he wrote a making of instead of editing. He edited the myth-making one for Attack of the Clones. And this one is more of a promo piece, right? This one's much more, it comes out with the movie and whatever.
It's not
as in
the
depth.
Deep dive. Yeah. So did you see, Brock, did you see what I flashed up earlier is the only Rinzler book that I have in my collection that I could remember, but I'm going to hold this up here. Do you know the Star Wars?
Is that the comic?
Yeah. He wrote the script for this, and they translated it to graphic novel form. It's like the early draft of Lucas's. Even one of the characters looks like George, if you see.
Yes.
But it's beautiful. It's a hardcover. I was like, I think he wrote that graphic novel, and he did. But I also ordered I just ordered the Sound of Star Wars. Is that what that's called? It's a foreword by Ben Bird, and it's how they came up with the music. You've got it. And I bet I just paid a lot more for my copy that's in the mail than you probably paid for yours.
I don't have that one. I don't have that one at all. But I thought I had the comic. I read that comic. I got it from the library. I didn't get it. I didn't buy it. Sometimes I play the long game on comics. Usually the comics
for the trade.
The trade paperbacks they usually go on sale pretty easy. Or you can go to eBay and get like a whole collection. I have a whole bunch of the Clone Wars ones I got on eBay.
Yeah.
Like in a set because someone,
That's how I got the Dark Empire comic. It's a trade. I didn't buy I don't think I bought the single issues. I knew they were coming out. I mean, I was there as they were coming out, obviously, but I waited and got the trade on that. But
the Sound one, I'd be interested in getting that one. But I've been very verbose on today's show. If you think
that's
I'm
why
verbose,
you're here.
just wait till you hear Ben Burt start talking. The man, Ben Burt, you do sound. He just goes.
Yeah, I met him once briefly, and I was just kind of poking. I was just kind of looking at him. It was just like, that's the guy that shaped our childhoods, hand in hand with Lucas. He really.
I made fun of him a little bit, but we should be very clear here. That man is an absolute bona fide genius.
Absolutely,
and he has shaped American culture in ways that you don't even possibly imagine. My kids know what a Wilhelm scream is.
Yes.
Since they were 4, because it's on everything. It's on everything. We're watching DuckTales. They do DuckTales. It's in there. They'll throw it in
everything.
There. And my son beams like a Christmas tree every time he hears it still because they feel they know a little secret.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's being used as an homage to Ben Burt because all these people working today grew up on all his films. And it's amazing. And you've seen the mashups on YouTube of the Wilhelm screams. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's
in our show open. I don't know if you've heard it. It's in our show open, and it's definitely a nod to Ben Burt.
You have a show open here? I didn't know that. You have a package you put on the show.
Yeah, we've.
Your packages are great. They're really.
Thanks.
That came out wrong. Your video packages are really.
I appreciate that. Like
even worse.
Aaron's blushing now.
No.
Well, such a awesome tribute to Jonathan Rinzler. So Brock, thank you for that, man. Really appreciate that.
I hope I was able to justify what I'm trying to say is that if you don't have these books yet, get them. If you don't have them and you can't afford it because they're really expensive because they're out of print, get the digital ones. You won't be regretting it. The pictures aren't as big, but you still get some great stuff. And if you have them already at home, I'm rereading it now, the Empire one. But reread it. It's great. And that's the kind of thing, Justin, you can put it at your bedside table and read a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And not like a novel. You can't read a novel that way, but you can read a nonfiction book that way. I have this one here. This is really fun. My wife gave this to me for my birthday one year. Star Wars Year by Year.
Oh, cool. Hold on.
They have since come up with it, an update of it. But it goes through every year of Star Wars, and then in the dark times, as you mentioned earlier, what was going on. And then historically speaking, what was going on in the world. So they would talk about Shadows of the Empire in 1996, but also, I don't know, whatever world thing happened. I'm not a historian. The point is, like, it puts it in context. Okay. And it's the kind of book you can read a year or two at a time, quote unquote, put it at your bedside. This thing was sitting at my bedside for like 4 months. I have Star Wars 365 is another book like that. It's 365 pages. It's a book. It has great photographs in it and those behind-the-scenes stuff on it. That's a bedside table book, not a novel.
I know I've done it before, but it would be like the definitive Thomas Jefferson biography where it's just you've got the main character and some supporting cast. That I can get through. This is on another level, this High Republic, and I know I'll have to. I did the most productive reading I'd ever done was on my 5 years commuting from South Orange to Midtown Manhattan and back, and I read all the Game of Thrones books. I read lots of nonfiction, including that Thomas Jefferson novel, but I was able to get, and then I moved out here, and now I don't commute anymore, so when do I read? Right before bed, and what do I get read? Nothing.
Do you mow your own lawn?
I did up until less than a year ago, and we have a full-time service now to do that because I'd be burning all the hours I could spend with the kids. We've got an acre and a half, so it's a big piece of property. The
reason I asked was because
audiobooks, right?
Audiobooks.
Yeah, and then I was just listening to podcasts when I have a good mower out there, but I just needed to find some more time to do this I think. But
hey, you know what? And Dad's mowing lawns, man. That's what it's all about, men.
Yeah,
Dad.
that's what we do.
That's what we do. Dad wars, mowing lawns.
We'll do it live.
And I have to confess, when I mow my lawn, I wear my Darth Vader cape.
Get out. Does it billow? It just kind of billows.
On a windy day, it's intimidating. Let me tell you. Yeah.
The grass just leaves on its own.
The grass just goes into the ground like an inch because it's so scared of me. Just like don't cut me. It goes right back there.
It's Brock Vader.
Yeah, I'm just totally kidding. Although my senior year of high school, this was in the dark times.
Yeah.
And I got a Darth Vader mask from the back of the Star Wars fan club, and I got a Dracula cape. And I put down the big thing that was in the top and put it underneath. And I had the Star Wars mask book from when I was a kid and had a Darth Vader panel. I basically made a homemade Darth Vader costume. And I took those, how matchbooks have those, like, they slide out that little piece of cardboard. The little matches have the outer container and it slides out and the matches are inside. I took 2 of those, painted them black, and put the little computer things in his belt and put in a little, note to self kind of like tape recorder. And I put the Imperial March on that. And I didn't put the breathing noises. I should have done that. But I put the Imperial March on that and put it in my belt. Fit perfectly. and walking down the hallway in between classes because we had to dress up for school, right? And I played the music blasting out of my belt as I walked down the hallway. And it was so much fun. Because I had the height at that point as a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And and I won like most realistic costume.
Oh, great!
Right, because it was insanely stupid that who's dresses as Darth Vader in like the early 90s.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I know you did it when it wasn't really cool at the time. Cool, yeah. Now it's widely accepted to do the cosplay. I just thought that story was going to end with a locker and a Letterman jackets.
Yeah, even on Darth Vader, I still got stuff in a locker.
No, you said you're 6'2", like you probably weren't getting messed with too much. That's the only
Justin,
thing.
You've dressed as Vader, right?
I did for Disney. I did for.
You had a real costume.
Yeah. It was the costumes. They just kind of repurposed. There was a live Star Wars stage show at Tokyo Disneyland, and they brought those costumes back to America and repurposed them at MGM Studios for Star Wars weekends. And I was one of the Vaders for the Jedi Training Academy before it became an official thing. It was just kind of a low rent. Let's throw
your son, that video with your son at the Star Wars training video. Aaron, you've seen that video, Justin? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah.
That was around that time. Yeah.
Yeah, his son, and you all haven't seen this, but basically the lightsaber wasn't working, so Aaron's son went like this with the Force to try to push Vader away with the Force. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
The thing that's amazing about that is he was 3, maybe 4.
He was so smart.
The look on the instructor's face was of astonishment. Like, I can't believe this kid just did that. And I actually have photographic proof because, there's the Disney photographers. So I have a sequence of events of him trying to open it, hand up, the guy's face, like in complete shot. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And it's just like, I wish every kid would do that, but no one has clearly. And that was just that kid was so into that at that moment. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
My son was obsessed with Mace Windu because of the original Clone Wars cartoons, the
micro series.
Yeah. Yeah, because of that, the one of him just taking out all those battle droids. He loved that. So he had like a Mace Windu lightsaber that he had around the house, and
awesome.
He just loved Mace Windu.
Speaking of that, in the Rinzler's book, you will read in the original treatment, Mace Windy is the name of the character that eventually turns into either Luke, Obi-Wan, I can't remember who, but Mace Windy was all the way back in the day.
I've
so
heard
when Mace
that
Windu
before.
got named in the prequels, it was a big deal for Lucas to finally put him. And Padawan is in there too. It's remarkable how early he had some of the idea, or at least the names. Utapau was going to be Tatooine for a long time, I believe, and someone can correct me in the feed if I'm wrong.
Amazing.
He had some of these things that he put back in the prequels. He finally got a chance to use.
I love that. I love that
and
stuff.
That's the kind of stuff you read in Rinzler's books, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. God, we could just talk all night.
Well, Aaron did ask me if I had books that I would recommend, and I did do some research on that. So in case people don't know or don't care or whatever, or a combination of both, there was about 20 years of Star Wars books before Disney bought Lucasfilm. And since they wanted to continue the story in a lot of the same time periods, and there's too many characters and things to deal with. And at that point, they were like 40 years beyond Star Wars, the original Star Wars movie. It was really far out. And Luke and Leia and Han were old men and women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had kids of their own who have died and things. It was really, tragic. They decided to reboot the whole thing. And it was a wise choice to do that. So that stuff became legends. And a lot of the characters that us longtime fans really love are no longer in circulation, but ones like Thrawn came back in. They're picking and choosing the characters they want to bring in. And ideally, one of these years we'll get Mara Jade back in. Obviously, she won't be Luke's wife, but it's a really great idea for a character.
Yeah.
And
I'm putting money on that appearance. That
I hope they do somehow figure it out. Talon Card can stay away, but they should put in Mara Jade.
How about Dash Rendar?
Well, again, you can bring in Dash somehow easily. You can put him in a cartoon, not a problem.
Yeah.
There's really no reason you can't have Dash Rendar in there, and his Outrider is in the special edition, right? So you can have it done. So I made a list of top 3 books of the new canon that are my favorites, that I think also are great books that if you're kind of curious on Star Wars novels, you don't have to commitment, or you don't have to worry about reading a whole bunch more books. Like, so if you read Aftermath 1, you're going to have to read both 2 and 3 afterwards to get the complete story, for example. That might be your choice. But I think when people ask me, what book should I read? Where should I start? Well, there's no good answer to that, because do you really want to start reading 35 books? Because that's a big commitment, right? So with the High Republic, they're trying to do all these different things with combinations and stuff. A lot of these first new books in the canon were there to make the movies, give additional information towards the movies, or at least that's how they marketed it. So they have a Rogue One book that took place right before this, the things of Rogue One, the happenings of Rogue One.
Yeah, the events.
Ursos, right? And they had a book about
Catalyst was the
Catalyst. That's it, right? It was James Luceno, I think, did that one, right? That's over there somewhere. Great Star Wars author, by the way. He wrote some of the best. If you have the Darth Plagueis book that he wrote is now Legends. It is a legendary, great book. That man does his research. James Luceno was one of the greatest Star Wars authors, in my opinion, and a really nice guy. We had him on the show a few times. He's really, really a great guy. And so a lot of these books were supposed to give extra information towards the new movies, like the Journey to. And I found that was completely lacking. They clearly didn't have the access or the scripts to really give us information that we wanted to see. So it was really, the Phasma book was supposed to inform us about Phasma, and it didn't, in my opinion, work. So, but that being said, one of the best Star Wars books, I know Aaron read this one, I think, it's called Bloodline by Claudia Gray, and it's about Princess Leia and how she decides to, a new rebellion is needed, basically. And it's really, really good. And it really does inform you on how Leia got to be the general of the Resistance for The Force Awakens. So it really is worthwhile reading. It's also easy to read in this that it's Leia, so you care about Leia. Another good book is called Dark Disciple. This came out really early in the new canon, and it's about Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos. And it was based on scripts that they didn't get a chance to use for the Clone Wars. They have since gone back and done season 7 of the Clone Wars. I have not seen that yet. I'm still on season 5 of the Clone Wars because I find it very difficult to watch that show, but I guess that's a conversation for a different day.
Absolutely.
I have not watched The Bad Batch as a result also, but this is really good. And it talks about the journeys of the Jedi and how easy it is to go dark and light. And both Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress. And
yeah, she's a fascinating
character. Love story, an unexpected love story. And it's a phenomenal book. Christy Golden wrote that one. She's a very good Star Wars author as well. I highly recommend that book. That's also a one-shot. Surprisingly, my third recommendation is the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston.
I have it. And I'm halfway through it.
It's really good.
It's good.
And it's a young adult novel, which is bonkers that I would recommend that over an adult novel.
Yeah.
I don't want to say adult fiction. The point is grown up fiction, because
Harlequin.
It's a really great characterization of Ahsoka.
So
and
I'm
what
reading
she's doing after the Clone Wars.
I got that for Eloise, my 6-year-old, and we read a chapter here and there when she's interested, and easy for her to follow. And you're right. The thing about it is, when you get to Clone Wars season 7, which I have faith you will, there are some similarities between that final chapter of her story there and this book, and I think they lifted them from this novel. I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, because season 7 came out, I think, well after the Ahsoka novel.
After the book, yeah. And the audio book is read by Ashley
Eckstein.
Eckstein.
She does read it.
And she does as Ahsoka, and then she does other voices as well because there are other characters in the book. But it's great that Ahsoka's voice it's really worth checking out the audio for that particular title.
That's great. I'm glad you recommended that. I'm wanting to ask you something for at least an hour now, because you kind of halfway answered my question. You were explaining to the audience how we went from having all this expanded universe stuff that just kind of got what's a nice way to put it? I was going to say just
hard to navigate.
But it just kind of got swept under the rug, and now you're Legends. So how do you feel about that, having been such an avid reader of Star Wars novels all these years, to have all these characters that being kind of discarded or filed away? Of course, like you said, Thrawn, he's just such a popular, prominent, he was such a force of a character, no pun. But of course, Filoni's going to pick him and use him. But what about all these other situations, events on the timeline that are now like, see ya? Like, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What was your initial reaction when they sorted those into legend?
Well, keep in mind when it first happened, we haven't had the sequel trilogy yet. Like, we didn't know what was coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've read online, there are some really, really livid fans, like people who deny the new canon and only want the legends. And it's really like, I'm hesitant to say it's behavior we're seeing a lot of in the last couple of years on a grander world scale of people just not accepting certain fact, but they're begging and pleading and threatening and complaining about, Star Wars fans can be very vocal if they're not feeling being treated fairly.
Yeah.
And those us loyal book fans, there was a contingent that felt that way. I spent 25 years reading these books. They're my trophies behind me. I spent so many hours. I've read most of these books. I'd say of the books I've read at least 3/4 of them twice, at least, right? I've read Heir of the Empire. I can't tell you how many times, right? So I had so many great memories of these books. Do I think they need to reboot it? Absolutely. It was getting so hard to keep track. I missed the Dark Nest trilogy by Troy Denning. I missed it. I just didn't get a chance to read it because I was behind, right? Because it's a lot of books. And then you read another book and they're referencing it. And so it's really hard to keep up with. If you miss one book, you got to it's challenging.
Yeah.
And so when Disney got the license, and the first thing they said was, we're going to make new movies, how on earth can they possibly sort through 25 years of books when people who've read them can't do that? It's not fair. The fact that they keep bringing in characters from there and they're picking and choosing, it is the way to do it. So I'm fine with it. I love those stories. Some of those stories I did not like. There are some stinkers behind me right now. The New Jedi Order is an amazing feat that they put together, but I don't recommend that series to anybody. There are some books in there. My favorite book of all time is in there, a Star Wars book called Star by Star. And it doesn't pay off unless you read the books before it.
Oh, wow.
But it's remarkable book. I was crying reading that book. It was so good.
Wow.
Because of what happened in that book. So why would I want to trade that for anything? So do I suggest people nowadays pick up all these Legends books? No. You can pick up the good ones, and there's still good stories. Just understand that these are, like What If? Now, people understand the multiverse now for the first time. The general public is understanding the multiverse, right?
Yeah, it's not a hard concept, but yeah, and they've introduced it to the wider audience.
Exactly right. So now think of it as the multiverse of Star Wars. This is one way it could have happened, kind of like the end of Clue. That could have happened, but maybe it happened this way.
Yeah,
and that's how you can think of it. So no, I have no problem with it. I'm very, very happy about it. And I also made recommendations of Legends stories that I think people can still enjoy today. Obviously, the Thrawn trilogy is completely worth reading if you haven't read it before.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first and considered the best. It's very well written, very, very good, very true to Star Wars, and it still works all these years later. It's like 30 years old this year. Heir of the Empire is 30 years old this year. And there's a 20th anniversary book that has annotations in the margins of Timothy Zahn's thoughts about writing the book and stuff like that. Totally worth picking up that version of the book. But
is that for all three or just the first?
Just the first one.
Okay.
It's completely worth getting. It's I'm not sure. I think it's still in paperback because it's Heir to the Empire. It's just a classic, a Star Wars classic, I should say. And the reason they brought Thrawn back was because he got killed off, spoiler alert, from 30 years ago, so quickly in that series. And he kept on finding new ways to bring the character back and bring him back, and as best he could, right? Now he's written. You hear I said written. Timothy Zahn has written 5 books, and a 6th one's coming at Thanksgiving about Thrawn, because he has a new license on this character he could never do because he killed him off. And it's given new life to a character like that. I'm thankful that we're able to get such great books. And on Rebels, Thrawn was a force to be reckoned with on Rebels, right? I mean, come on. So yeah, what they're doing is the way I would hope. I think it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. You're a very diplomatic fan, and I asked that because I noticed there had been a lot of vitriol like aimed at Disney for making those decisions, but they had to. I guess they had to make the decision. What if they never did announce, like, or did the fans demand we need to know what's in and what's out? Like, I wonder why they made that declaration. They made it pretty early.
Well, Lucas also said, I'm not going to be beholden to anything. Like, when there was fiction written for the Clone Wars and the novels, and then he did different stuff for Clone Wars, whatever, or whatever. He can't possibly read everything. Why should he? You know, and some of the stuff didn't fit. Some of the stuff still doesn't fit. The new canon, it's not perfect. A lot of different authors, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But a lot of this new books are really there to push product, as you said earlier, like just to promote the new this or that. There's a Black Spire book, right? There's the promote Galaxy's Edge. The Oculus thing you were talking about earlier, the Vader's thing is supposed to be really great. It's supposed to be really, really great. But I don't know if you have to go to Galaxy. I think it's Galaxy's Edge. You can just get that game. I don't think you have to go to Disney to do that VR thing, by the way.
Okay.
Anyway, before I forget, we had mentioned it earlier. Kenobi, John Jackson Miller's Kenobi, is a must-read if you're a Star Wars fan.
So good.
It is probably going to be, if they don't base some part of the TV show on this, they're insane.
Wow. Okay.
John Jackson Miller wrote it, but the problem is, from what I understand, he's there to watch over a young Luke Skywalker, and we just saw a whole 2 seasons of that with The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to go a different direction, right?
Yeah.
But there are aspects of this book. It's basically, you know how they always say Star Wars is like a Western in space? This movie is like an actual this book is like an actual Western.
Okay.
Instead of the Native Americans, it's the Tusken Raiders, right?
Yeah.
Instead of Shane, it's Kenobi, like the old-fashioned gunslinger running from his past. That's, the book. It's like I said in my root. It's like the movie Shane or the book Shane.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, and it's exactly that. And it's such a good read.
It sounds fantastic. When did that come out? When was that published?
2014, 13, maybe 13.
Okay.
And,
Well, that's pre Disney.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. These are his Legends picks.
This is my Legends pick.
Oh, this is still Legends pick. Okay.
No, this is Legends pick. This is my first Legends pick. My number one Legends pick, besides obviously Heir to the Empire, 2013.
Okay.
So I have the hardcover. Completely worth reading. Completely worth it.
Oh yeah, I know that cover. I never read it, but
it's amazing. And then there's a really fun one. It's like Ocean's 11 in Star Wars, called Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn. A lot of fun. So these are one shots because, again, a lot of these books are like 3 or 4 in a series, and there's a Star Wars noir series. There's like a detective series if you want to read something like that. There's called Coruscant Nights. I think it's actually called Coruscant Nights. There's a lot of good
Tatooine Days and Coruscant Nights.
I'm telling you, baby.
USA Network.
How about real quickly? Did you read the Tales of the Bounty Hunters, like anthology novel?
I did. I did. I read all 3 of them.
I actually read that while I was in college.
It's fine. There's
Yeah.
some good stories in there. But like any other short story collection, they've done 2 short story collections so far. From a certain point of view, have you heard of those?
Yes.
They did one for Star Wars, one for Empire, and the audiobooks again have some guest stars on there. And there's 40 different stories, so it's you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
But actually, one of the series I've never read, there was a Bounty Hunter trilogy by K.W. someone-so, I forget his name, Jeter, K.W. Jeter, something like that.
Okay.
And I never picked those up because I never heard anything good about them. And I have the entire collection behind me. Like, of all the books here, I've read almost all of them, like maybe like a dozen I haven't read yet. And I have never picked that series up because I've never heard a good thing about it. And now it's Legends. It doesn't count, blah, blah. I'm not going to go back and read that one because I've heard nothing good about it. Yeah, so I don't have to.
Bust
but the Tatooine, the one I remember the most is the Cantina one, the Mos Eisley Cantina Tales. That was that's the one that really stands out more than the Jabba's Palace one, more than the Bounty Hunters.
Yeah.
I need to just interject real quick. I have to use the restroom, so I'm going to go use that. You guys keep talking.
Yeah,
we
don't
need you. You can go back.
Actually, and you have to go work at Disney for a while before we can bring you back into this, I think. But yeah, do your thing in or if you can. He can't wait. We're men of a certain age.
Let's go. No. But I mean, there are other books there. I mentioned earlier the new Zahn books, the first trilogy of Thrawn books. Alliance, then the Thrawn Alliance, there's Thrawn Treason. The best part about the Thrawn book is the woman from Rebels, the commander who was in charge of the Imperial forces. What's her name? Her name. Price.
Yes, Price. Yeah, with the severe haircut.
Yeah, it's her backstory too.
Oh,
right?
really?
How she became. Yeah, I know, right? So it was what a treat that was to find out how she came to prominence.
That's awesome.
Right? Yeah, so like he was able to use that, and then alliances I didn't care too much for, but it was a really great idea. It was like how Thrawn had interactions with Anakin Skywalker, and then later with Darth Vader, and so he figured out it was the same person, or at least he was looking for he was fishing to get confirmation of it. But then like it was a really good idea. I just didn't care how it was executed.
Yeah,
and then he brings it back around with the last one. Which was good. The Treason it returned to form. But the 2 new ones, the Ascendancy books, the Thrawn Ascendancy books, are really great. It's when he's still in the outer, the unknown regions in Chiss space, and Thrawn's working his way up, and it's great stuff. Timothy Zahn he's really found his stride with this series. It's really good. So
how old is he now? I don't know much about him. What is?
I can't. If he's like 65 or 70, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
we can look it up. We have this. I can look it up now, but I have no idea. But there's so many authors besides him that I can keep talking about. But he just happens to write some seminal things. Right? He's 69.
Okay, he's still got some life left in him.
No doubt, but he's found new life with this stuff. Rinzler was what, late 50s when he passed, right?
Yeah, 58.
Yeah, something like that. So, I do want you to. I do think the High Republic needs a little more time before you can judge it.
Yeah.
And the young adult book complemented the adult book, the first one especially. So you don't have to read all the comics and all the young adults to keep the story going. You can actually read it at the level you want to read it because it's designed that way.
Okay.
But yeah, totally check it out. Give it a better chance. I think
I will.
What if you don't know how to read?
And I read a couple of chapters in anticipation of talking with you, and I was thinking I was going to have this burst of energy and get all the way through it and be able to have a more fuller discussion about that first novel. But to your point, good not to spoil it for people who haven't read it.
It's only been out since January, right? And they have 2 books, they have 2 novels in it now. It's way too early to tell really where it's going, and give it a chance. They have an idea. They have I don't know how long it's going to go. I don't know how well it's selling. I don't really know. So it could fizzle out at the next book. I don't know, but they already have books planned. So we will find out what they're going to do soon enough.
It's more Star Wars, right? You got to give it a shot.
Well, I think we do. We're Star Wars fans, right? So
we have to.
We're going to watch anything they put in front of us, and for better or for worse, and we're going to have opinions on it. And the beautiful thing about this, think about it this way. Star Trek had the original series, and in the 80s, they had The Next Generation, right? So the entire generation of people who didn't like watching the old 60s show or the cartoon from the 70s, which is really great, by the way, got to chance to watch the movies and The Next Generation, right? And then they did one too many shows, I would say. Spinning off from generations, right? They had Deep Space Nine, they had Voyager, and they had Enterprise, right? And they tried to reboot it and this and that, and they have Discovery now. They divided fans in a similar way that Star Wars fans have been divided today, in my opinion.
Yes.
Trekkers can be just, which Star Trek they prefer, where they came in, what they prefer, and Kirk, Picard, blah, blah, blah. It's very similar to the fans nowadays with the sequel trilogy and the prequel trilogy. Which ones you grew up in the original trilogy, which ones you grew up with, which ones you care more for. And there are things in the sequel trilogy that are great. There are some great things in the prequel trilogy, but I will always defer to the original trilogy because I grew up with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a property. This mythology has now lasted several generations. Like you're saying, and everybody's coming in with different experiences, different levels of nostalgia. Where were they? Who were they with? What was happening in the world at the time? And I think in the original trilogy, I think it blew people's minds in that they'd been experiencing all this hardship in the 60s and 70s, right, with the political climate, and it came and just brought wonder back to humanity, to put it. I mean, that's one way to put it, right? But and then the way the other movies rolled out, the sequels could look more like a cash grab if you really wanted to be cynical about it. The prequels are George maybe going for one last dip in the pool, for his retirement,
Well, I know we want to stay positive on this show, right?
Critical thinking is welcome.
Star Wars, not condemn it, right?
Yeah.
But there's that whole theory that the prequels, his wife owns part of the original trilogy. His ex-wife doesn't own any part of the prequels. There's a whole thing about that with the special editions and why we don't get the original trilogy movies and the blah blah blah.
Yes,
the sequel trilogy, as divisive as The Last Jedi is, it's the closest thing we're ever going to get to a classic Legends EU novel on screen. If you have read the 25 years or wherever long it is of books that I have behind me, and you've read Luke Skywalker's characterization as he grows as an old man, it makes complete sense why Luke Skywalker was the character he was in The Last Jedi. And
interesting.
Think about it. The man was trained by very briefly by an old man who was in hiding, and then he went to another old dwarf on a swamp planet who was also in hiding from defeat. And so he learned that when I'm defeated, what do? I go into hiding. That's what he learned.
Yeah,
how would he not learn that? He makes a mistake. What does he have to do? He has to go into hiding to preserve the blah, blah. That's what he knows. And the proof of the pudding, if that actually works, that is actually why it's a good characterization. Is one of the only things I liked about Rise of Skywalker was, what did Rey do when she felt like she failed? She tried to go into hiding.
Yeah,
exactly the same thing. It was completely justified. And people wanted Luke Skywalker to be the same hero he was when he was 20 years old. He lived a life in those 30 years. I'm not the same person I was. If I was the same person I was at 21 that I am today, how could I possibly be a person? Does that make
You'd
any
still be
sense?
wearing your Darth Vader costume from high school.
Well, actually, the wife did request that. I should probably get on that. Whoa, a little racy here. Whoa,
Dad Wars After Dark.
Here we go.
Yeah,
this is
she prefers that to me wearing the Leia bikini, so I understand that. So anyway, the point is that there's a lot of stuff to like. You can find it. Yes, there's the Canto Bight sequence. Yes, there's the pointless Poe Dameron story in The Last Jedi. But there's also some really great stuff in there if you look for it. So
yeah, Canto Bight was a prequel. Now we know it's a prequel to the Galactic Starship adventure or event at Magic Kingdom, or Hollywood
Studios. Talk about doubling down on the most popular scene in the movie. Huh?
They really, gosh.
You know what I want? You know what I want at this hotel? I want to be able to sleep in a tauntaun. Like, I want them to have a tauntaun bed.
Yeah.
Remember how years ago they made like some company was a Think Geek finally made the Tauntaun sleeping bag, right?
Yeah.
They should do that. They should have like a Hoth room, and you can sleep in like an ice cave, and quote unquote, not like in Iceland where they actually have like in James Bond Dino.
Yeah, like an ice hotel.
Actually like have theme. Maybe they have.
Well, that's what we were. That's what we were talking about last week. Was like you need to dirty it up. It's too slick. It's too Canto Bight. It's too elite. Like what arms dealer. Like I don't know. It's like the class of Star Wars that we're not all fond of. We like the down and dirty and like the scrappy people that maybe you don't have a lot of resources, but you're going to this experience and you're. It just kind of immediately, who are these people? Like, who am I surrounded by? Yeah. People who can afford this.
Aaron, you look like you want to ask a question.
Cover price.
I do. I just looked at the time. Justin,
yeah,
is it like next Tuesday over there?
It is, and I've got so much work to do tomorrow. I hate that I have to do that, but let's get back together with Podcasting's Brock real soon. I feel like we've just hit one little sliver of like this whole thing we can be talking about.
Yeah.
And I did a show this morning.
Are you gonna PayPal me or Venmo me the fee?
We're gonna pay you in Wampas.
I was doing Western Union. I just have to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Wire me the money.
All right. So but man, thank you so much for Brock for really bringing some insights and your Star Wars experience to this conversation.
I feel like I babbled the entire time. I feel like a schmuck for it, but then again, you asked me to come, so it's on you. It's on you.
And you should.
Aaron, never meet your heroes, Aaron.
Aaron, what? That's just mean. That's just cruel. I mean, that's how you treat all your guests. I'm not coming over next week. Forget it.
Oh, we'll see.
So I'll talk to you tomorrow then.
Yeah, man.
Justin, it's been a pleasure meeting you. Keep it up, man. Keep it
going.
going.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
You've powered through this technical stuff, and
for the most part.
Bring it on. Just keep going with it. And you know what? If a show is 90 minutes one week instead of 3 hours, it's okay.
Yeah. It's what? Why is Aaron laughing?
Because it's funny. It was a funny joke. I made a joke at you. I was complimenting you, and then I did it back. It was like a Don Rickles kind of comment. Like I kind of backhanded you in the middle of a compliment.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. It's just fun. It was just fun.
It's good. It's good. Sorry, I was prepping to out the show, and I was pretending to pay attention, and I missed something good. I'll watch it on the replay because we'll have a replay.
Not everything has to be Lord of the Rings, okay? Make it shorter. What?
Yeah, Rickles doing a Lord of the Rings reference. That's
and the little
wild.
Guys with no shoes. What's this? They're gonna hurt their feet.
All right, and
last time I saw that much hair on feet, it was B. Arthur. Anyway,
Akmina.
All right, guys,
keeping it Star Wars.
So, Brock, anything you want to promote before we go? That's the only payment we can give you right now, and also I want to put your recos in the description and any links you want to supply us. What do you get? What do you have cooking? What do you have cooking?
All right, so we will have a new Star Wars Action News as soon as possible up on swactionnews.com and iTunes and Podbean and wherever it is, like everywhere you get your podcasts, wherever fine podcasts are found.
Awesome.
I don't think Podbean, but other places. And then and then of course our flagship show has now become our original show. First show was Star Wars Action News, but we have Now Playing Podcast, which is our movie review podcast at nowplayingpodcast.com. You will find something there that you will like. I am on many panels. I am not on other panels. We review entire series of movies. So, for example, we review for Star Wars when a new movie's coming out. We went back and did all the other Star Wars movies. And then so they did that with the Avengers back in 2012. They reviewed all the other MCU movies, and they're still going. Every single one since. So every new series has a new entry, blah, blah, blah. So
I could say, by the way, too, I've listened to a bunch of these episodes, and they're a lot of fun.
They're a lot of fun.
I can't
wait. If I'm on it or not, any panel combination, we do our research, we know our stuff. It's a lot of fun, and our fans are just the best fans in the world. We also have booksandnachos.com. So like we review a book, like we're doing the Stephen King series on Now Playing. Arnie reads the book and Stephen King reviews the book. I reviewed a few books over there. When we did the James Bond series way back when, I reviewed half of the James Bond Ian Fleming books. and Stuart did the other half, and you can find those book reviews there if you're interested in that. So Star Wars Action News at swactionnews.com, now playing at nowplayingpodcast.com. Marvelicious Toys is our Marvel show about Marvel collecting. Marvelicioustoys.com, a lot of fun, that show as well. So you can't go wrong with Venganza Media content, and that's where I'm primary at right now, so I'll stop plugging stuff. But venganzamedia.com for all your awesome podcast needs, and I thank you guys for letting me promote that.
Awesome, man.
I cannot tell you how blessed I am to be part of that team, and it's just it's really good stuff in my humble opinion.
I cannot wait to hear you in your natural habitat, because you rocked it here. So I can't wait. For all the
fans who are wondering, whenever the new Halloween movie comes out, I will be back on that panel. Whenever the new James Bond movie is released, I will be back on that show. I continue to come back to the series that I started, not a problem, and then more. So I'll be back in the fall as soon as if they get in the theaters, they don't get delayed. You never know what's going to happen with this pandemic. So first things first.
Yeah. Man, that's a whole other discussion too about the state of the movie business. But we'll listen to that on your home turf, man. Thank you so much, Brock.
It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me.
I think Aaron he froze. No, he's still there.
No, I'm still here. I'm still here. I haven't frozen.
All right.
Buffering.
Yeah. All right, friends. And lest we forget, until next time. There we go.
May the Force be with you.
Go out with Qui-Gon. All right, fellas. All right. Take care.
Do they have pod racing?
Daddy Wars.
We'll do it live!